Good afternoon, Mike, fellow villagers. I'm Mike Lackey. I'm your POA Board President for 2026. Seeing that we have a full quorum, I'm going to call the session to order. At this time, I'd ask that we all rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. We have the minutes from the March 18th meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. President, I move to approve the minutes from March 18.
Is there a second?
I'll second them.
On the question? Seeing none, the board will ask for the vote. All in favor? I show the count as 7-0. Thank you. This is kind of my turn for a little bit of opening remarks, a little bit of update for those of you that weren't here on Monday. We had council in earlier guiding us in some spaces, and we have our TBOR motion act plan through the House. It went through 91-0. We're tied onto the comptroller's bill. It is currently in the Senate, and we are looking to have that passed by the end of the month, at which time we will enter into becoming a water utility, which will allow TBOR to regulate our rates and regulate some of the things that we do, protect the villagers from undue expenses. They will look over our shoulders. We've got to secure approval from Mitch Ingram in Monroe County and Buddy Bradshaw in Loudoun County, their mayors. I've spoken with both of them individually, and they support that issue. So we'll have some opportunity there. It will also, once we become a water utility, allow us to seek federal and state grants. So it will allow us to defer our costs, get low interest loans, get matching funds for projects that we have coming up, and apply for that. We've got to get our house in order a little bit. That's a very specialty skill. And Ed's reached out to Mitch Ingram to help us write those grants and conform with them in the future. It's not a skill that we've had here in the village because we couldn't get grants. So it's not anything that we've perfected. It's not anything that any of the previous boards have done wrong. It's just a skill set that we don't have at this time, and we'll be developing that. In addition, Beth, is it today? You're going to when's the telegram going out? Tomorrow?
On Friday.
On Friday. We will be sending out updates to the new Blue Book, the revisions for the 2026 update. Our last update was April of last year. There's a lot of technology that's driving some of this. The lighting, the new lighting that's going underneath the soffits and stuff, we really don't know how to regulate that. We didn't have it. So when you talk about things that are evolving, AstroTurf. Nowadays, a lot of people are wanting that for their yards, and there's some guidelines that we're working in there. Swim spa sizes. So all of those will be coming out in the new Blue Book. These are things that are coming up before the ACC, and they're going, we didn't have that in the book. We didn't think about that. You know, is a swim spa a pool, or is it a spa? How big is it? Is it above? Does that make it an above ground pool? So there's a lot of things like that that we're going down the path that we're learning from. We didn't have a demolition permit process. Well, now then some of the older homes that are on the lake are getting bought up by the new money that's coming into town, and they want to take the property, recondition it, and put a new lot on it, or a new house. We didn't have a process for that. We didn't determine the hours that they could work. We didn't determine the conditions for what they could do, timeline, how long the permit should last, and a lot of that's coming out in the new stuff. So we're working on that. And solar panels. We've had solar, shoot, everybody such cheap electricity around here, nobody thought about that. Well, now then we've got, talked to a guy that had a house, had two 200 amp services. And he could justify the additional solar panels, but our blue book, the way it was written, wouldn't let him do it. So he had to get a variance on that, so we're updating that and getting that going. Hopefully, it'll come out in Friday's telegram and give you guys a chance to review it. The ACC will vote on it in the first Thursday of next month, Matt?
That's correct.
So the ACC will vote on its approval, and you'll have a chance to comment to them there. Then we'll have a town hall, and then we will vote on it the third Wednesday of next month.
Hey, Mike, just to add, on the website currently, at the very top, we have our menu items, and there's one that says under board review. The blue book is currently there, so people can access it that way. And then there's a comment form underneath that where people can leave their feedback.
That'd be great.
Thanks.
We're trying to make it easy on you. Thank you, Beth. I appreciate it. There's a lot going on. We've hired our new food services director since the last time I think we sat in here, a lady by the name of Christine Martinez. She's a very skilled lady. I met with her for 2 hours last week. Sat down with her at the Welcome Center and let her pick my brain, and I picked hers. Some of her concerns are quite valid. We got behind the eight ball a little bit when Skylar departed, and we didn't get to hire everybody that we wanted in that time frame. The construction on the Tanasi is going well. The problem that we have now then is the building might be ready before the manpower is ready, before the menu's ready. We don't want to open this thing up prematurely before we give her the opportunity to come on board and make sure that things are right. She's opened up 4 restaurants in the past 2 years. So she's very skilled at this. She's developed a menu already. So she still hasn't got her staff picked. We've got to get that all manned and figure out the way that we're going to move troops from this restaurant to that one. Obviously, lunch won't be served here any longer. So please be patient with us if it gets delayed a month because we want to do it right. Please be patient with her and show her the courtesy, and because he's putting her heart in it. I guarantee you, when I spoke with her, she amazed me. And give her a little grace period there to get oriented and get organized and get going on. And I'd like to send out our congratulations to all our staff, our ACC and everybody else for their hard work to get the Blue Book out, and the FAC to get the food services, or FSAC, to get the food services ready for her to come in here and be successful. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the video that we posted online on YouTube, on the TVN, of the new Tanasi. It's pretty darn impressive. They did a great job on it, and hopefully we can fill that thing up from outside places as well. We're looking at, let's see, that's about it. We went down and we looked at some of the furniture. Beth took us on a go to Gemba, and that's a gimbal. That's where you go to the site to look at things, and we went downstairs and looked at some of the outside furniture, and it needs some serious consideration. And you'll see one of those. She's got a proposal for us later in today's meeting, and I think it's going to be just fine. We're trying to invest back into our village. We need to. That's about all I have for now. I think we'll put it out on open forum. Any questions from anybody? Wait a minute, this ain't right. Somebody come on, Linda.
Good afternoon. Linda Garza from Toqua. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I'd like to start out with some compliments. I don't know how many people took the opportunity to review your first quarter video that you and Beth did. I found it very, very informative and full of good news. Good news, just to recap, recognizing the Public Works Department for the 100% score that they had, as well as Beth for her efforts to sell the temporary clubhouse at Tenasseee and the Cart Barn, as well as Matt in his reduction of the TDAC fines. A lot of really, really good news. I hope people, if they haven't already taken the chance to listen, what was it, 30 minutes, Mike, of the video. It was outstanding. Actually provided a lot more information in regards to the search that we discussed at the town hall on Monday, where you have gone, what you've done, and where you're at now. So I'd like to compliment you and Beth and the team on all your efforts for this quarter. I'd also like to ask for the board, I know you mentioned in the meeting in regards, or in the video, in regards to efforts to bring CTI on board to do the evaluation or the next step design phase for Kahite. For those of us who live in Tokwa and are close to the Tokwa pump station, we are hopeful, very, very hopeful, that this will move to the next stage, because we know that the Kahite pump station is the first step to getting something done at the Tokwa pump station. So thank you for your efforts. Thank you for the time. It was a great video. And please, if you haven't gone back and if you haven't looked at it, it's definitely worth your 30-minute time. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Linda. I'd like to compliment, and you don't see Kevin, he's tucked back there in the corner, and he does all our videography and our audio and our technology, and he keeps us in the K-Rails. And also, Shauna Hunt was there, wasn't she, Beth? So when you guys...
And Don Mansko.
And Don Mansko, our editor. So there's a lot that goes in there. Beth and I just don't show up and look pretty. Well, she might, but I don't. There's a lot of work that goes into getting those out there and getting them into a format that condenses the time and addresses the questions, and I thank you for your compliments. Anyone else?
Hi, Gary Zika from Chota. Mike, you'd mentioned about the new Blue Book regulations, and it is on the website. You could review it already, which I did. And there was one comment on the that I kind of fell into, which I didn't know about. But on decks, when it talks about it's adding to deck, it's section L of the Blue Books, and it talks about outside applicable building code regulations, meaning you basically got to go. If I'm in Loudoun County, so I had to go to Loudoun County to get a permit for that also, which I did. I got the POA permit, and then I got the Loudoun County. But what I didn't know was for the sunroom that I was also doing, I was changing a screen porch to a sunroom. It really doesn't say you need to get a Loudoun permit. It's kind of like under the miscellaneous, and I don't know if there's some place in there that you could actually say if there's some other miscellaneous that changes your footprint or changes that you also need to get a Loudoun County permit. Because I had the work all done at the same time, and when the Loudoun County permit inspector shows up, he says, "What's that?" And I told him what it was. And he said, "You need a permit for that too," which I was able to get without any penalty or anything like that. But that's one thing, if there's some way to add that in there. It is under decks, but nowhere else does it really say you need to get a permit for other improvements.
I bring that up to the ACC. I'll let
Okay.
them carry the ball.
And if I still got enough time, and this is from me on the Kahite lift station. I understand that's going to be one of the items on the agenda for capital. You know, my personal recommendation, and not George, not from PSAC, but my own recommendation is looking at it and knowing about that, is that we don't want to do the old ready, shoot, and aim. I don't think there's a big rush to do it. I think there's some circumstances that need to be corrected on the agreement, and my vote would be no on it. Thank you.
Casey, you getting up to speak, or you just shutting the door for us? Come on, if you want. Are there any others? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your consideration. At this time, we're going to move on to Mr. Vice. Oh, Simon's got it? Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm your opening act. The headliner's coming. If you don't know me, my name is Simon Bradbury. I'm the Parks and Recreation Director. I also have the privilege of serving as president of Thomas Teleco Foundation. Today's presentation reflects the kind of work that intersects with both of my roles, which is enhancing our community spaces while honoring the values and the people who define Tellico Village, also supporting our broader vision of well-being, purpose, and social fabric. I'm grateful for the leadership and vision behind this project, particularly from those who served our country and our communities. Your foundation directors are all on board with this project, and we unanimously chose our project lead. It is my honor to introduce Mr. Sean Talent, whose service and leadership to both our country and to our community of Tellico Village bring deep meaning and credibility to this project. Thank you.
Now we get Mr. Vice. There's a joke behind that, guys.
It was a good evening.
Good afternoon. Everybody awake? Nah. It's good to be here again, not in front of just the POA board, but the fact is the villagers themselves and those who get to watch this, because I think we're going to bring forward something that's pretty amazing and pretty cool. The last time we were here was in January. At that time, we were reintroducing Timeless Tellico Foundation to the village and the new members of the board. At the same time, though, we gave you the status of what is our current fundraising project through Timeless Tellico, which is the Tenacity Pro Shop in the flex space, what we call the golf experience, the golf simulator experience. In January, we told you that a year or so prior, we had committed to about a $180,000 goal, fundraising goal, to bring you an entire experience there, not just the 2 bays of the simulators themselves, but also the furniture and the ability to rent out the space and enjoy the space at the same time. In January, we told you that we're on our way to making our goals, and at that time said we're looking at a bogey of about $50,000. Today, we're here to tell you that we sent in the last check to fully pay for that amenity that's coming to you all. We've met our goal, and then we expect, working with Scott, that when the new Pro Shop opens, you will have a fully functioning new amenity, which will be revenue producing from day one. So that's the current status. So I'm going to step into what is our next project, but before I do, unabashedly, here's an ad. Pick up this flyer on the way out. We're advertising this Friday from 3 to 5 downstairs. I'm going to use the word free beer, free wine, free hors d'oeuvres. We're having an information time, which is called To Imbibe with Us. We want to hear the villagers' ideas of what they would like to see in the future. We'll tell you what we've got going on and more about our foundation. So it's an opportunity for a couple hours downstairs where, did I say there was free beer? Bill, Joe, I said that, right? Okay. And maybe some free wine, if that's why. When I said this to the welcome orientation on last week, that's what got everybody up to come pick up the flyer. I don't know why, but I'm going to build on that. Okay, let's build on to this next thing. We've been approached by the foundation from a variety of villagers and said, this is an important year. It's our 250th. One amenity we don't have is a Tellico Village First Responders and Veterans Monument. Please, I control the slides. Let me control the slide. Maybe. Where do I point? I don't know. It's yelling at me. I'll turn it on the side. So I used to fly F-18s off aircraft carriers, and I start things many times saying IR pilot. This is why. So anyway, I don't think this is the way we're going. Let's go this way. A variety of villagers have come up and said to us, isn't it about time in the year of the 250th celebration that we bring this forward? Our foundation members, the directors got together and we discussed this and said, we think it is. And it aligns with exactly what the village is doing, et cetera, like that. So we said, Timeless Tellico has forwarded you a proposal to begin a community fundraising campaign to build a military veterans and first responders monument for those who rush towards danger to protect this nation, your communities, or whatever. And with us approaching 12,000 villagers, we think it's time. A monument to honor all those people in this year of the 250th as a permanent asset. That's the proposal. Each one of you should have received a full proposal and maybe these slides here. Currently, we are approaching, I think we're close to 90% build out. That's my rough number, 12,000 residents, somewhere in there. And we don't have a current unified monument that exists on village property for such a thing. And we believe, again, this anniversary of the 250th is a unique opportunity, and that's why we're tying into it. The monument will provide a visible, year-round display of this, our villagers' support of those who rush into danger. And always be ready for ceremonies like Veterans Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, et cetera. We're proposing this location right here outside the yacht club. And if you look at it, wow, it's looked like it was built for a monument. This rock that's right here would be in the center. You get flag poles around this area. That's already an existing retaining wall. There's no other infrastructure for us to change. It's kind of uniquely like it was originally designed for something that might look like this. Now, before we get too involved with the flags and everything else, this is an AI concept. We have a handful of well-intentioned villagers on the board who have a certain level of ability in doing the AI changing of photos. But notice how we have the eagle flying full-time around the monument. That's a training that we'll work for. But what we are envisioning are 5 flags. The flags are not the ones you see displayed, not all of them. Obviously, the U.S. flag in the center, but then the state of Tennessee flag, the 2 counties where we reside, which is Monroe County and Loudoun County flags, and then the POW MAI flag. We just couldn't create those in time for this brief. That's our limitation. There are a lot of other things we'll talk about, but at the base and between all these will be individual markers for the different services, the 6 services. This is for first responders too, so there'll be other markers down below that'll have fire, EMS, police, et cetera, but it's a monument for all of it there. Central to this is the monument area that I just talked about. Again, it could be close to the right size, but this is just here as an example. We will form a steering committee and design the final monument here as we go forward with your approval to march forward with this. The 5 flags I talked about and listed already. 2, remember, it's benches on either side. And then we would actually, the only thing we'd have to do is run electricity from the building here underneath, because we want to light up the front of the monument and the front and up to the national flag. Of interest to everybody here, Timeless Teleco is talking about providing this, fundraising it, and giving it again, as we have recently, a gift to the village. We will provide everything here. The only cost that we believe that the village would have to undergo is maintaining the electricity for the lighting, because it's going to be on year-round on there. But otherwise, we're talking about doing everything. Okay? I will talk about one thing right now, because it's always one of those things, but you just don't not talk about anything that might be a negative. Right behind here are 2 trees. The closest tree would either have to be continually pruned or removed. And I say that very cautiously, because if anybody knows anything about Timeless Teleco, we've done so much for green spaces, so much for the environment, 30 miles of walking trails, meadows we've done, the pocket parks, everything else like this, that when we say if we have to remove a tree, it's not because we're trying to clear the view, it's because it'll be an obstacle to the flags and the flagpoles themselves. But within the proposal is also, if we remove a tree, we replace a tree. Hell, we'll go 2 to 1 if you want, okay? But if we believe that there's an interference there, that would be a problem here. But that singular issue, we would be fundraising for everything. We would be replacing the tree or anything else there. But I don't want to surprise you with a negative later on from this proposal. Okay, so we talked about this. Down below, those flagpoles would be stone or brass placards representing the 6 military branches. Additional signage or pavers for the fire, EMS, and police. It's a veterans and first responders monument. And we believe it's a place that we can highlight the Timeless Teleco Village POA partnership in this project. That site we already talked about is ADA accessible, and the Telco Village VFW post who meets in this building right here have been looking for a signature event. They fully support this, and they'll support it financially. And remember I said the only cost you would have is the electricity. The post, VFW post, will provide and replace the flags as necessary over time. This is a little bit of an exaggeration, but we also have opportunities for fundraising here. This area here behind is exaggerated in size, but it's so you could see what we're talking about. Be more like some sort of pavers that people, little bricks. You can see them a lot of veterans monuments and stuff like this, and people, veterans or first responders, can purchase those along the ways. But that would be in this area right here. Okay? And yes, we have 2 benches that are right there. We'll do naming rights and else. But that's all part of the fundraising part that is our responsibility. So, what are we asking? We're asking you to allow Timeless Telco to bring a new amenity to the village. A veterans and first responders monument that we will fully fund. If you approve of the concept, the location, because we're asking to do that outside the yacht club, it's just, go look at it. It is designed for a monument, the construct there. And then with our fundraising, the construction of the monument. We would like to set up a formation of a foundation POA planning and steering committee for the design of the monument, what goes on it. We'll work with the local community. And our goal would be, with your approval, we would like to make an announcement this Memorial Day, the 25th of May, and out there in front of that block there, we'd like to put something right there that says future location of the Telco Village Veterans and First Responders Monument. And we'd like to do that in a joint, I'll call it a ceremony. We'll bring the VFW out, we bring leadership out, veterans, fire, first responders out, and say, in honor of Memorial Day, in honor of the 250th, we are going to start this project to have it fundraised and ready to go over the following year. That's our proposal, and I stand by for any questions.
Matt, one question, that rock that's sitting there, is that just an independent rock, or is it part of a tip of an iceberg, a piece of granite underneath there?
It's kind of like renovating a house. We'll give it a tug, and we'll probably find a place for that rock. Your yard, my yard.
I'm just wondering, because would you have to dig down deep to just
We'll figure something out.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I always wondered why that rock was there.
Thank you, Sean.
Just like to say 2 things. One, have you considered solar for the primary, for the lighting,
We're willing.
with the backup of the, and second, with the concern that there is right now for lighting at Tennessee, you might want to be very cautious about the kind of lighting you put in here. People might have a problem with the light shining at night.
Okay, understood. Thank
Fair
you.
challenge.
One of the things I think is also kind of cool is if you, on the lake, you'll be able to look back and see the monuments there too. It's one of those things you'll see from both directions.
Chair recognizes Mr. Brown.
I have no comment or question of Sean, but I have something I'd like to interject. The Sons of the American Revolution, in conjunction with the Conservative Club of Tellico Village, have come to an agreement to have a sugar maple planted in front of the club. You will see a little orange flag out there. It's no cost to Tellico Village for the tree. However, the POA, Public Works side of the house will dig the hole that's necessary for that tree, and they will adjust anything they may find, such as maybe an electrical line or the irrigation line that might have to be moved. In conjunction with that, there'll also be 2 plaques placed by that tree, and they both are, one of them will be done by the Sons of the American Revolution. The other one will be done by Daughters of the American Revolution, of which my wife is a member. The time frame, that tree being planted will be June, July time frame. There will be a ceremony dedicating that tree, and my wife, Kimberly Brown, is the point of contact. Thank you.
Madam Vice President.
Thank you. I just have a clarification. Sean, will you go back to the picture with the rock? That one. I just wanted to clarify because this was a question I had when Sean presented this first to the Thomas Telco Foundation Board. If you go to the next picture, he said, we need to take out a tree back there, and I thought he was talking about that tree. That's not the tree. That's after the tree that would have to be removed is taken out. That one would still be there. So go back now again. Sorry. That front tree
Right,
is the
there's
one
two
that would
trees
be
right there we're taking
impeding.
out.
So just wanted to make sure you knew that we wouldn't lose that really pretty tree that's behind there. It would still be there. And then you may have noticed in the second picture, there was a tree on the left that wasn't in the first picture. And that's not necessarily the location, but when we said we'll trade a tree for a tree or 2 trees for a tree, that was kind of an idea of where we might put a smaller, like an ornamental tree or something pretty there. So I just wanted to clarify that for you guys because
Correct.
I had that question when I saw it the first time. And I really thought that looked so lovely. I hated to think about that tree being the one that was going to be cut down, but that would be preserved.
Is there a vote or a motion?
Mr. President, I move the board approve this wonderful idea from Timeless Telco.
I'll second it.
We have a first and a second on the question.
I recommend one caveat. When Timeless Telco Foundation was created and approved by the board, one of the things that had happened in the past was that people had sold memorial trees and put little stones by them that caused people to say, and these were sold typically on and around our golf courses, and they said, we don't want it to look like we're turning the place into a cemetery. So one of the things that the board asked the foundation to do back then was not to use words. If anybody in here has bought a paper or a bar stool and asked for it to be in memory of someone, that's not something that our policy allows because of our agreement with the board not to do that. So I think the only caveat that I would say about this, and I love this idea, and I think it's a wonderful idea to have this tribute to our veterans and first responders, I would say that it needs to be limited to this, that like the memorializing things, if we put those in memory of messages on the pavers or the stones or whatever that goes in there, that it would be specific to this location and that we're not saying it's okay to put memorials all over the village. That would be the one caveat that I would say, since it deters from our original agreement with the foundation.
You can accommodate that, Sean?
What scares me is I know exactly what she's saying by all that.
Okay.
Because a few months ago I didn't. Basically, when you sell bricks and stuff here, it's going to be for your aunt, uncle. My wife and I are Navy veterans that says we were Navy veterans from these dates to these dates, or my uncle who passed who was a veteran. And those are what those are limited to. That's what, or first responders.
Okay.
Did I get that right?
I've got a question about that. I was going off the picture where you were showing pavers. Have you thought about, are you going to have more requests to do that than you have space, and what do we do?
Boy, yeah, that's kind of a neat thing to do. I don't know. I would not be surprised that there's a lot of desire for people to do this. I know with my family in different places, I have family members in 4 different veteran parks on those kind of bricks. You know, it's kind of thing that a lot of people want. And if they themselves weren't a veteran, their parents were, or something like that.
Well, just depends on pricing, I guess. Just if there's limited space, it's higher priced. Just a thought.
Exactly.
On the question? All in favor? I am abstaining. It's not that I'm against it, but I sit on the Timeless Telco board, and I don't think it would be appropriate for me to vote in this space. So please show the vote as 6-0 and 1. And it's not that I'm opposed to it, because I am not opposed to it, but I can't vote on it. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you very much. Did I mention free beer and wine on?
Here we go. For those of you that weren't at the town hall Monday. The fire department, at no cost to the village, would like to put a Kahite disconnect switch in and provide a portable generator to be housed at at their firehouse out there. And they will do all of the engineering. They will do the purchase of the materials. They will purchase the generator, and they will maintain it as needed in the event of a snowmageddon, catastrophic event, whatever. It would provide our fire department the opportunity to stay functional in Kahite and use the Kahite Wellness Center and Recreation Center as a first responder place, or even put cots up for local Kahitians in the event of extended power outages. They've asked for our permission, this board's permission, and to do that and bring us back the final plans before we allow them to reach into our electrical panels. They have licensed contractors that will do that. And so they asked for the permission to start the process. And at this time, the chair will entertain a motion from the board to let that happen.
I'll make that motion to allow the fire department to investigate installing a Kahite disconnect switch.
I second.
On the question? All in favor? I don't sit on that board, so let it show 7-0. Correction, it's Bob Lennington, not Luddington. He called me up and said, hey, that doesn't happen. So just be aware of that. It seems like there was another request that the fire department had.
It's your next one, recreation memberships.
Oh, correct. It's not in my book in that order, so I'm a little confused. Please bear with me. Shame on you, Karen. The current Tellico Village Fire Department extends wellness center membership for free to our first responders in the main village. As such, the Kahite fire EMTs down there.
The EMRs only, yeah.
EMTs and EMRs would like to have that same courtesy extended to them in Kahite. I think it's only fair. And I just see no real cost to the village. So Simon, you're gonna have about 8 more members to come down there and use your facilities as the time comes on. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve that.
I'll make the motion to approve recreation memberships for the Kahite first responders.
I'll second.
On the question? All in favor? 7-0. Thank you. I think that's all I got for the fire guys, isn't it? Okay, here comes the money. What? The capital request, here comes, here we go. Joel's going to the front of the list.
All right.
You're throwing spitballs at me. How am I supposed to keep track of this?
All right, thank you very much. So this is March balance scorecard results. You're going to see a lot more information than you've seen in the past. Mostly the first 2 months was a lot about a foreman of our groups. Now you're going to see some storming and performing. So let's go to the next slide, please. So just a quick reminder, the balance scorecard are 14 initiatives and our measures, targets, and our strategy. Next slide, please. So we're going to focus on the right side, our 14 initiatives, our 14 PDCAs, Plan, Do, Check, Act. Next slide, please. All right, very first one, the Property Owner Satisfaction Survey. A lot has changed since last month. So not only are we ahead of schedule, but there's been a change. We were hoping to get 50 resident responses per month. We're now going for 500 a month. So next slide, please. Let's explain that in a little greater detail. A lot to share here. So what is this property owner survey? It's the overall satisfaction of the residents and how they feel about the village. Our goal is to better understand your experience as a resident and identify opportunities to improve. We did a beta test of the property owner survey, and I'm going to share some of those results so you can see what people were saying, what it looks like. As I mentioned before, we're going to try to get 500 surveys answered. So we're going to send out 1,121. Why that number? That's how many it's going to take each month to ask every resident that's on our books to take the survey. So I'm speaking to all of you. When you see this survey come through your email, please take time to do it. The surveys will be sent the Tuesday of every month, and again, our goal is to get at least a 50% response. Next slide, please. So what does it look like? We went over this last month, but I want to just go over it briefly again, just show some of the sample questions. Some of them are verbatim comments. A lot of them have ratings per specific areas. Are you very satisfied or very unsatisfied? It has a 5 rating system. Next slide, please. So let's show you what the beta test produced, the ones we sent out in March. These are just 4 areas of the many that we have: building maintenance, amenities, water cost, monthly fees. So you'll notice these are the responses we're getting. Very good on the building maintenance side. Water cost below it, not so much. Now, we have made these changes recently, so maybe people haven't seen their new bills yet, but certainly there's some consternation. I think it still goes along with that, but as Mike has mentioned with our T-Board update, the future is very bright. Monthly fees, kind of a mixed bag, right? Some say we're okay, some say we're not so okay. And TV amenities, pretty satisfied group. Most residents like it. That's why it's so important. Now, this is just a beta test, so we're going to start this big one. It's starting this month. It's already gone out. We really would appreciate you filling those out. So what we have so far is 194 surveys received to date. The average time is 12 minutes and 58 seconds. How's that for statistics? That's wonderful. So it's not a long time. So under 15 minutes, you should be able to take it and give your verbatim comments. These results will be reviewed and shared with the POA. And we want to understand your opinion, your thoughts on how we're doing and what your experiences are and what we can do to improve. I think Mike Giffen mentioned last time there's going to be a $25 gift card sent out, and the most important thing is your voice matters. So that's number 1. Let's go on to number 2. This is your customer experience survey. Different survey. This one's based on an actual event, like you having a meal. You go into the parks, you go into the wellness center, you having a round of golf. We also added Public Works. How was that experience with their service? And also, how was your visit to the POA office? So as you can see, we got a really nice story to tell. Although the official scoring does not take place until April, we ran a beta test for 2 months, getting a feel for how was our surveying methods using QR codes and and we just tested it at our 3 amenities: restaurants, golf, and parts and rec. And let me tell you a little bit more about it so you can see we're way ahead of schedule. I'm looking down at the check, which is the bottom left-hand corner, and then we have the beta test results. Our goal is to have 85% satisfaction. Okay, and as you can see, year to date, we might have dropped a little bit in March as compared to February, but we're still running at 85.5%. Just like I did last time, let me show you what some of these results look like. Next slide, please. So these are the codes you'll see. You see them if you go downstairs right now. You'll see the orange ones at the restaurants. If you go to golf, as it should be, they're green, and if you go to Parks and Rec, you'll see blue. Next. So here's some of the results. So let's look at the restaurants for March. So you can see that the quality, not quite where the goal is, but within like about 5%. The staff, you got a very nice rating at over 91% satisfied. And then the value, again, within about 5%, but maybe not right where we want it to be. So we've got a little work to do there. Next, and that was based on 100 surveys. Next slide is golf. We got 60 surveys in March. Condition, pretty good, but keep in mind, a lot of summer grass, right? That's not fully in yet, so you got to take that into consideration. There are a lot of dormant grass. The pace was one that kind of got our concern. 75% over goal of 85, pace of play. But you'll see the staff was very, very well reviewed at 93.7%. Next slide. So Parks and Rec. So we got 31 surveys. Right on, the cleanliness is right there, about 85%. Staff, greater than 85%, and so with equipment. So good job, good reviews. So I want to stop just for a moment. Your voice matters. Remember, the balanced scorecard, our strategy is the customer first, okay? Let's not lose sight of the customer first. So you can see we're getting meaningful data from all of you that will actually be used as part of training and also their reviews. Frankly speaking, the POA employees are going to have this as a part of their review. This is how a lot of them will be reviewed on how well we performed in taking care of the customer. Last one on the customer strategy is the help spot satisfaction. This is something that we started right from the get-go with wanting an 85% goal. And you'll see in the lower left-hand corner, you can see the results, planned versus actual. And year-to-date, we're just under 85%, but look at that nice trend that's going on. Every month since January, the ratings are going up, the satisfaction is going up. So that's a really good trend. Some might say you treasure what you measure, and it's working out very well. Next slide, please. Now we're going to get into the finances. Judy, would you like to take a crack at this? But one thing before Judy starts, there's something different here. Some of you may catch it and some of you may not. I've added 5 previous years in there. Okay, so you're going to see this on all of our finances from now on. I want you to see what the average monthly expense, gross profit, subsidy, reserve contribution, I want you to see what it was in the previous 5 years. So you can kind of see where are we going? Are we trending up or holding steady, dropping, whatever it might be. So you'll notice that you'll see 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. All the averages are going to be on all of our finances from now on. I want you to see what the history was, okay? Go ahead. Thank you, Judy.
So for our expenses, both March and our year-to-date results are favorable to the plan. March is 6% better than planned, and year-to-date, we are about 7% favorable, roughly $470,000 better than our budget. The primary driver continues to be wages and benefits due to open positions with additional favorability in materials and supplies and certain maintenance expense categories, as well as professional services. A few areas are slightly above budget, but overall spending remains well controlled and consistent with our flat versus 2025 guidance. Next slide, please. Looking at our gross profit and our subsidy numbers on the revenue side, which reflects gross profit plus interest income in that bottom slide, whatever chart. The results are favorable for both March and year-to-date. March is 7% above plan, and year-to-date we are 9% favorable, about $600,000 ahead. Improved performance is broad-based across operations, with some softness in our utility tank installations, partially offsetting that strength. Subsidy results on the top part of the slide are also coming in better than planned. March subsidy was approximately 83% better than expected, and year-to-date we are 31% favorable. That's about $350,000 better than planned. Parks and Recreation is generating a modest surplus year-to-date, while golf and food services are operating at a subsidy as expected, but still ahead of budget, with golf about $232,000 better, and food service about $92,000 better year-to-date. Let's go to the next slide, please. So all of these results, the expense results and the gross profit and subsidy results, flows through to our reserve contributions. March contributions were 58% ahead of plan, and year-to-date we are running approximately 113% better than planned, which is about $1.3 million ahead. This reflects both operational performance and timing-related factors. Operationally, results are benefiting from our stronger margins that we just discussed and controlled expenses. In addition, interest income remains favorable due to the timing of our capital spending, along with gains on lot sales, including 2 Kahite lots, CCI lots, and 2 POA lots that occurred during February. So while performance is clearly ahead of plan, a portion of that outperformance is timing related and not purely planned run rate, and we would expect some normalization as the year progresses. Overall, March results are strong, operations are performing well, expenses remain controlled, and we are ahead of plan. while recognizing that timing and some non-operational factors are contributing to the current levels of our surplus. That's all I got.
All right, thank you, Judy. Can you go back a couple slides? I found an error, and that's my fault, Judy.
Okay.
Back to the gross profit. So the gross profit shows that, there you go. Gross profit shows below plan, and as Judy's indicated, it is above plan. The problem was we used a 12-month average of profit, so it was dwarfed by August, September, and October. But she is right, we are 9% over plan on gross profit. I'll fix that for next month. That's my mistake.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. So now we're into the internal processes. So remember, the scorecard has 4 perspectives: customer perspective, financial perspective, which Judy just finished. Now we're into internal processes, the 3rd perspective of the 4. This one's about process efficiency improvements. This is for us going through and looking at our current processes and looking for opportunities to remove waste. So although we have a goal this year of saving $150,000, and starting in June, we actually got an early start. We got a nice one here, thanks to Beth and to Jessica Johnson. They went ahead and revamped or looked at our collections process and found some opportunities, and we were believing it's going to be about a $5,000 per month or a $60,000 per year savings. So we're off to an early start there, so that's a nice thing. Thank you, Beth. Next slide, please. And here's some of the other process efficiencies we're going to be looking at. So for those of you inquiring minds who want to know, we're going to be looking at our fleet. Okay, so we already talked about collections, but now we're going to look at our fleet. So trucks average between 5,000 to 35,000 miles per year. What we'd like to do is hone in on the vital few. Look at the trucks that are having the highest mileage. Find out how they're being routed, how they're being used. Is there any different ways that we could recognize some reductions in the, as Mike calls it, window time? As you know, gas prices are up. What a great time that's why it's at the top of the list now. We're going to be looking at our vehicles, looking if there's ways to use them more efficiently and maybe cut some of our costs just by maybe simply just looking at how jobs are routed. Other areas we'll be looking at, contract labor. It was $650,000 this year versus $500,000 this year. So we want to find out what was the genesis behind that 30% increase. Telephones, who would have thought? $266,000 a year is what telephones is costing the TV POA. We want to look into that a little bit deeper. We know that we have to have connectivity and communication, but maybe there's some old landlines we're paying for we don't need to. We don't know. But it's a big number, so we're going to take a look at it. Electricity, another one, over $700,000 a year. Let's find out what we're doing with that, right? We've already talked about lights on at the Tanasi day and night. It's not been set on a timer, but little things like that we could be looking at and seeing if there's some opportunities for improvement. So these are future view of what we're going to be looking at to figure out if there's any waste and we can reduce it to hit our $150,000 goal. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to turn this one over to my partner here, Mr. Kerry Brown. Talk about preventive maintenance.
Thank you very much, Joel. Appreciate the opportunity. I never get an opportunity to speak. But one thing I'd like to bring up, George, you lied to me. You said 60 hours a week. I'm somewhere around 80. So you lied to me. I just wanted to point that out to people. All right, the PM side of the house, those of you who've been in military or those who've been in corporations that have a preventive maintenance organization, operation, you know that it's necessary because sometimes it's absolutely critical that you know when something may fail in advance, or you may be able to find some savings in your PM maintenance program. And that's where we're headed. Now, next couple of years, we're getting our analysis and we'll get our study done. But the first 2 pieces we took on was in the turf management side of the house. That's a big operation, and as well as public works. So that's the 2 we went into shops and said, okay, what is it you have? And lo and behold, when they started counting and looking at all the equipment they had, we found out that it's a very expensive operation to run the maintenance as well as looking at the amount of equipment turf has as well as public works. We got a great amount of money invested in those 2 shops alone. So what we wanted to do is get started, and we wound up with a great spreadsheet that Gordon Clark put together over from the Kahite side. And we started using that to identify our assets. And once we got them identified, then the next step on that was to start putting in where we're going to do our maintenance. Where do we do our hourly maintenance on every piece of equipment? Or where do we do a standard maintenance operation, preventive maintenance operation? And so in that particular effort, we found that we had another glitch in our POA operation, which was identifying in each shop all the equipment they were supposed to have. How many trucks, how many idiots, how many widgets, all those different things. So now we're able to establish a table of distribution just from the start of preventive maintenance. So we know what is supposed to be in those shops. And that'll help us in the next time we do a reserve study, because we'll have it all narrowed down. Well, one of the places that we need to work on right now is kitchen, and when Mrs. Martinez comes on board, we will ask her to help push that part through, because kitchen equipment is very expensive. Kitchen equipment is very labor intensive to keep it clean and keep it maintained. And also, we're looking at a couple other places within Tellico Village that doesn't have a large amount of equipment to see about pulling them in on this preventive maintenance program. So right now, we have created a draft preventive maintenance operation procedures. It's out there for review among the staff, our team. And we will continue to work on that, and we will continue to provide information as we're going. But like I said early on, it's going to be about 2 years before we can see where we are in our cost and where we are in our ability to save some money with a preventive maintenance program. That's all I got.
Kerry?
One more slide? Okay.
One question for Kerry. Are you looking at the IT maintenance part of that too? Because there are equipment and
Yeah.
updates that need to be.
You're
Okay.
on my list.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you.
This is kind of an overview of, it's not the full program, but this gives you an idea that the type of machine they got, the year, the hours, in January, February. These were maintenances that they needed to accomplish. Jordan over at Kahite actually started this program in '24. So he has data from '24, '25, and now they're putting it together for '26. And this spreadsheet is his creation, because originally we were looking at hiring someone to bring in an outside program, and we said, wait a minute, why should we bring in an outside program? We've got a good spreadsheet that works here. It will tell us, let's say for instance, say 410 on the John Deere 255E, 410. So that's probably 410 hours, possibly, I don't remember exactly. But you could click on that and it would tell you how much money was spent for that particular maintenance time frame. So at the end of the year, we can tally what that piece of equipment cost us in maintenance. And that's important, because at some point in time, you're spending a lot of money on equipment, on the one piece of equipment. Maybe it's time to replace it. Or maybe it's not, I don't know. Other than that, anything, Joel? Thank you.
Thank you, Kerry. So moving on, we're going to look at innovation of new programs. This is really exciting. Otto's running this one, and he's just doing a fantastic job. They've got a really powerful team of people, representatives of POA employees from restaurants, golf, and rec. Really great. It says it's in process as far as testing new programs, but I want to just call your mind's eye to the bottom left-hand quadrant. You'll just see how far ahead they are in their Gantt chart. And they actually got an early start with running a St. Patrick's Day music night back in March as an innovative program. Next slide, please. But here's the really exciting stuff. Look at the stuff that they're working on. So numerous programs are being developed, and what's really cool is what Otto is doing is he really challenged the first pass list that came in from restaurants, golf, and rec centers were pretty much within their own area. Is that fair, Otto? So what Otto challenged them to do is say what synergies could be gained by having parks and rec work with restaurants, or golf and restaurants working together. So if you look at this, I'm not going to read all these to you. There's a whole lot of stuff that they've come up with. And there's actually, and Otto actually gave me something for April showing what they've already done, but I didn't want to show it for March's report. But he's already off and running with another savings that has already occurred from some of these. I think is it Singo, David? What was, was it Singo? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, these are things that they're coming up with. So exciting time for residents because they're going to be innovating and giving us programs that you want, that you would like to come and participate in. That's what this is all about. Not the same old, but something brand new. And you can see just some really cool stuff. David over in Tokyo, they're doing a great job. Look at some of the stuff they're doing. They had their Singo, they had their St. Patrick's, music games, all kinds of stuff. Hats off to you guys. Thank you, David. Really, really good work. Next slide, please. Safety, great story to tell. No lost time injuries so far this year. So we're off to a really good, safe start. That's a very important thing for not only for protecting our associates, but also keeping our place safe and also making sure that we're efficient and effective at doing it by not having people out for injuries. And last thing that I'm going to cover, and I'll turn it over to Matt, and this is another one Otto's working on, and this one's just phenomenal when you see this. So we originally set a goal to do 2 different surveys, 50% of the employee satisfaction surveys by May, and try to hit the other 50% in August. Well, you can see in the top left-hand graph, we've changed that because of what Otto and the team are doing. They just hit a home run. They're not satisfied with just getting 50%. They want to go for the whole thing. And you can see their Gantt chart in the bottom left, way ahead of schedule. They have already met with the employees. Almost 50% of the survey is completed. And I think, Otto, you guys are going to try to complete by the end of this month? And this week. Next slide, please. Look at some of the stuff that's going on. So 13 in-person survey sessions have been completed. So they're actually going in. Otto, you want to talk about this? I hate talking about this. This is yours.
Yeah, this is kind of exciting. We've gotten a really good response from the POA employees. We've done 13 sessions. We did 11 sessions last week, all in person. The feedback is amazing. They do the survey right there, and then what's really important is the kind of discussion that ensues afterwards. And we have a yellow legal pad full of comments that you're going to eventually see back. It's been amazing. We have 192 completed right now. There are 387 total employees, not 383, but only 153 of those are full-time, and we've gotten most of those. The part-time ones, we have about 130, I think, Russell, if that's about right, 130 villagers who are part-time. We've gotten some of those. We're going out to the department heads one more time. Some of these, we're going to send them the balance. We give them the balance scorecard brief up front so they understand what the strategic objectives are of the overall organization. We know we're not going to get everybody. It's hard to get the food service folks. We've got them at shift change, and you don't have a lot of time there. So I've asked the general managers of the restaurants to go out with a text to all their employees and ask them to do it. We give them a survey link. So by the end of this week, we're going to cut it off on the 17th. We anticipate we'll get a good response back from this effort with the department heads and the general managers of the restaurants. And then we go into number crunching mode. And there's a lot of qualitative opportunities in there, and we are seeing a lot of comments. You'd be surprised. The results are pretty positive for the most part. There are some negatives. There's some go-dos. There's goods, and there's others. And we will capture all those. Our intent with this, as you can see, we prepared a brief, the BOD, the GM, and the department heads. Our intent is to come to you guys in a separate session, just the 7 board members, and it'll be 3 of us, because we went out and we actually purchased 3 of us went out and purchased a SurveyMonkey subscription for the year. So none of this resides on the POA, on the POA servers. This is truly anonymous, and that was our biggest concern to start with. And we've gotten them to open up significantly to us. So we anticipate we're going to get great great data back from this. We have a 95% confidence with a 5% error rate right now with the 192 we have. So that's pretty good data. What that really means is if we took the survey 20 times, 19 times we'd get the same result. So think about that. That's pretty good. So our intent is to go back to the ask for a special session with the board to give you those results. And then we'd like to sit down with the department heads as a group and give them the same brief, the same results, so everybody understands it, and then sit down with each department head separately to drill down into what's going on in their department. And from there, we'll have recommendations of action items that they can do, that they can put in place to correct deficiencies or make things even better than they already are. And we're seeing some very positive comments as well. So we'll come up with those recommendations. We'll settle on those with the department heads. And our commitment back to the employees is to debrief them, give them back. You never get the results of a survey, right? You never know where it went. So we've been telling them all along that we're going to get back to them by the end of May. So our intent is we'll have a couple group sessions, and then we're not going to catch everybody. We'll either email or text them with the final results so they have that. The other intent is to go at the end of the year to do another survey similar, not in person because it takes a lot of time, but to see how we did, to get a measurement feedback and see if we fix it. So the onus is on us as the POA to go ahead and take these actions, to tell them, they told us what they thought, but now we have to fix the things that hurt their heads. So with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Otto, that's fantastic, and that was unrehearsed. I just called him up impromptu, but that's how passionate this man is. Go back 1 slide, please. 2 slides, excuse me. Just what Otto was saying. So originally we were going to do surveys in May and August. Instead, you'll see the actual in orange done in March. You'll see an update again in April, and then I added December in there for 100% to match what Otto was saying. So remember, the original plan, 50% in May, 50% in August. The new plan, 50% in March, 50% in April, and then another 100%, as Otto just explained. We're going to do that at the end of the year to see how we're doing, because there's a lot of good information coming. Next, let's see, 2 slides. With that, last one, customer focus train. How can I forget that? This is also a project way ahead of schedule. So you see in all these way ahead of schedules. Wait till you see the score at the end, the overall. You're going to be I hope you're impressed. I'm very much impressed with what they've been able to accomplish. So here's one that's, the project's way ahead. They're training the employees, and then these best practices, we're going to start doing some, I don't know, I won't call it secret shoppers because I think there was a secret shopper, but something like that. Start having people see if these best practices are put in place. Are people using your name? Are they thanking you for coming? Are they encouraging you to come again? Some simple stuff, but very important. Next slide, please. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Matt.
So we've got some good news to report. In the month of March, amongst, in round numbers, 120 food service employees, so that would include full-time and part-time. It was in a separated employees. I'm looking back at Russell. It's something in the neighborhood of 1 or 2 of them. So that was really good. We are proceeding well on this. I would tell you, I believe the best work is yet to come. I do sincerely believe in interviewing all of the food service candidates, but certainly including Christine. I honed in a little bit about what is the turnover at the restaurants you serve? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Do you even mind telling me what it is? And had some productive conversations, but the one thing that I took from everybody's discussion, but particularly with Christine, there is a high correlation between training and turnover. And I think it's a composition of talking to people about what the food service business is about. It's not for everybody. It can be very, very, very stressful. It can be demanding. It can be late. All those kinds of things. I wouldn't go so far as to say you make it a negative sell, but you're honest with people about what this is going to be about. Also, I think when you get people walking into, for instance, serving, bartending, cooking, and those kinds of things, there's a high correlation with, I feel comfortable with what I'm doing. I've been trained on what I'm doing. I don't feel like I hit too many surprises. That's going to help turnover. That sort of staves off the, oh my goodness, I had no idea what I was getting into. So I think we were lucky to have some really, really, really nice results in March, but I think our best work is still to come on this. Next slide. This is the one that is just our continued hickey, although I do want to say that we did make some progress. Appreciated the opportunity for Joel to just kind of come in and talk with Russell. Russell repeated that to me, and I understood. We're just looking for ways to have the employees' annual evaluation reflect the performance on the scorecard, company-wide. Company what does well, you get good marks in these areas. That's roughly right. And appreciated Joel kind of giving Russell and I some flexibility to sit down. It's probably nothing more than time and effort. Russell and I sitting down and going, how can we work this in, do it in a way that the scoring isn't dividing hypotenuse by pi r squared sort of thing, that the employee looks at it and goes, I don't understand how you got here. Straight, simple, to the point, but now that we're clear on what's needed, I think we're in a very, very good position to catch up here pretty quickly. All right, so excuse me for just a second. Always happy to see us in the exceeds expectations. And I think I would be remiss in saying not only am I deeply appreciative of staff, just kind of as we run through the different things, deeply appreciative of staff and deeply appreciative of these ad hoc advisory committee members who are volunteering their time. They're meeting with employees, doing employee surveys, collecting results on customer satisfaction surveys, all that kind of stuff. I'm deeply appreciative of that. And on the whole, for the month of March, we're just bumping so close to exceptional, and that's always a nice thing to report. From the customer basis, the financial, the internal processes, again, sitting in the exceeds expectation range. From a customer standpoint, again, that's a lot of resident work that's assisting in that. On the financial side, I really got to tell you, I am deeply happy when Judy says things like, on the expenditure side, where we're winning is on the staff cost and the benefits. That, I believe, is a strong indication of you got a vacancy, slow down, think about it, don't get in a hurry. I can speak for one particular position we had in Public Works that really kind of comes down to it's somebody that we would put to work and keep busy, but we really need them during the leaf season, and the conversation was real short. Let's look at hiring the position September, October. Right now, we're just going to march on and take care of business. It's those kinds of things that does not impact service, but are important conversations to have. On the internal process side, again, all the work by Board Member Brown, the people who are on the Preventive Maintenance Committee who are putting together worksheets, analyzing the equipment, trying to figure out ways to log it, make sure that when work is done on equipment, there's an accurate assessment of the cost associated with it, and feeding that monster. We showed the golf maintenance one. The Public Works one is a series of tabs on a spreadsheet. Sounds rudimentary, but right now, it's pretty gosh darn good. And so it's a lot of work by staff. And on the learning and growth side, I would speculate, Joel, you might be able to tell me, it's the employee reviews that's kind of pulling us back to the meets expectations, but I feel comfortable that time and effort is going to catch that up. So, good report, I believe, and I'm certain all of us would be happy to answer any questions.
And I want to add something. Thank you, Matt. I think that when you look at the retention for the food service and the surveys that Otto and the team are doing, I think that could also help reduce the turnover as well. You're listening, and then, of course, the subsequent actions that we're going to take could be directly impacting a reduced amount of turnover because people are being heard and changes are being sought based on their concerns. One last slide. Next month, we hope to have a year-to-date dashboard. So what I'd like for you to see next month is you'll see the April dashboard, and then I'd like you to see a year-to-date dashboard. It's the same format that you're becoming comfortable with. Let's see if we can get that for year-to-date. We went through, Beth and I went through some calculations in there, and we just need a, what does Otto like to say, noodle on it a little bit more. We got to figure out, where straight averages, weighted averages, whatever need to be taken into consideration. So we're working on that, so that's coming soon. That's it. Any questions for Matt, myself? Anybody?
All right, this is where we start spending your reserve cash.
I think I was an eager beaver and sent Karen all kinds of slides she didn't even need, so I'm gonna skip, right, oh, wrong direction. Skip past a few, sorry about that. The board had, Karen, you might do faster at this than me. Okay, if you can get me to yacht club, patio furniture. There we go, all right. All right, so the purpose of this, originally as part of the budget for the capital plan for this year was allocated $18,000 for new patio furniture on the lower level of the yacht club here. So originally my request was for $14,000 as I was trying to replace the old furniture with the same quality of, new furniture with the same quality as the old furniture. But after presenting this to finance and to the Food Service Advisory Committee, you're gonna see in just a second that we're going to pivot just a little bit, but I didn't have time to update all of my slides for that. So the current conditions and challenges, this is some pictures of the current patio furniture down there, and as Mike said, we took a little field trip. I don't know what technical term you use. I just say we took a field trip, and we went down there and walked around and kind of looked at the state of our tables and chairs that we have currently. So everything is aging as they're over 4 years old. The current tables are made of a plastic resin, and you can see that they've been damaged from sun exposure, which makes them brittle. And then we've had some pretty heavy winds earlier this year in February that just took everything toppling over, and they all need to go into the garbage. The lifespan of the chairs that we've been purchasing are about a 2-year average lifespan. Weather and safety of these, if you go sit in one, you might fall through. We looked at some of those today, and I think we decided all of those need to go ahead and head their way to the dumpster as well. These are just some pictures of the chairs. You can see that they're coming apart just from the type of quality that they are and the use that they get. So what I was trying to do is stay in budget. As a director, we try to do that. We try to stay within the budget guidance that we're given. So I do have a plan to do that. But I think everyone agrees after some deep conversations in our little field trip that that's probably not the best thing that we should do. So as part of due diligence, I did go out to a commercial vendor, the same vendor that we purchased our Tenacity furniture from, because we've seen it, we know the quality it is. And to do the whole replacement that we need downstairs, that cost come in at $45,497.73. Well, as you can recall from my first slide, I only had $18,000. So the price constraints kept me kind of going into the not the best furniture. So one of the keys about the commercial furniture is it comes with a 5-year warranty that includes a complete replacement cost and labor. The average lifespan of those should be 10 to 12 years. They're very well made, and they're meant to be out at all times. So originally my recommendation was to stick with what we've been doing. But I've changed my recommendation, and I would like to ask the board to allow us to purchase commercial grade furniture for the $45,000. And one of the questions I got earlier was, well, how are we going to make up that difference? And so I had 3 other funding requests today that didn't require coming to the board, and of all 3 of those, I came in on those 3 projects under budget by $25,444. So if you take that, along with the $18,000 that I had budgeted for this furniture, that would bring my total available to $43,444. So in order to replace the good commercial furniture, I've rounded up just a little bit, but would be about $2,500 over the allotted capital budget for the food service division. We do need to go ahead and get these orders because, as you know, it's beautiful outside and we are on the cusp of Elite Tune Series, a lot of galas and weddings and things that take place at the yacht club, and people expect to have the patio furnished and ready to go.
Chair recognizes David Taylor.
Yeah, as the Food Service Committee liaison, I move that the board approve Beth's plan to buy commercial-grade furniture in the approximate amount of $45,000.
It's a little over that. I would round to 46 if you don't
Call
mind.
it in the approximate amount of $46,000 as soon as she can do it. And then, not part of the motion, but I'll just add a brief explanation. If we bought the cheap furniture, you have to spend something between $14,000 and $18,000 roughly every 2 years because it wears out. This commercial grade furniture is expected to last for approximately 10 years, and for 5 years, it carries with it a complete repair or replacement guarantee. So over a longer period of time, it's going to cost the POA less to buy this furniture instead of the cheap stuff.
Yes.
That's the logic here.
Yeah, thank you, David.
I'll second that motion.
On the question?
Yeah, I want to, as most of you know, I'm very critical of budget numbers and what have you. But we did a gemba, she called it a field trip. It's going to the spot, as the Japanese like to call it. We all went out and looked at the furniture. I encourage you all to do so. If you go downstairs and you go look, you'll see very disheveled, very worn equipment. So I'm very staunch about staying within budget. On this particular one, I fully support going with the commercial and getting it done as soon as possible.
Thank you.
I just have one, Joel. I didn't hear you. One of my hearing aids messed up. Beth, I got a question for you. You showed us the downstairs. I totally understand. You also, I asked you about the upstairs.
And I got a question. I got an answer for you. So
Okay.
it does include the replacement of all the chairs upstairs as well, in that number. Yes, sir.
Good.
Plug your hearing aid in.
Two small observations to add to that. This is going to align very well to plans that our new food service director, Christine Martinez, is already thinking about to, increase use of the downstairs space to bring in voluntary revenue. If you're going to get people to come have their wedding or have their party or whatever, it helps if it doesn't look crappy. So making it look good is a good thing. And just in case you all need to learn a new vocabulary word, because we've all had to, this is down to Joel, but his Honda employees, it's a Japanese word, gemba, G-E-M-B-A, and that means go to the thing itself and look at it. And the board did that before we had lunch today. We went down and actually looked at these tables, and it helps. Please.
I just had an additional comment.
Please
Weddings.
tell everybody who we're talking to.
Oh, Levon Mitchell.
Thank you.
I live in Kahite. Weddings these days, you're looking at revenue between $35,000 and $40,000. And if I was getting married, or if our grandkids or children or whatever are going to get married, that's the type of furniture that I would be interested in sitting in if I was a bride. Not the other. So I see this as a pretty quick ROI. Thanks.
You can have your anniversary party there, help pay for it.
You're right. You're invited.
Mr. Brown.
Earlier, you made a comment this morning about being able to move the Tenassi equipment, tables and chairs over as as a temporary solution to getting rid of our problem there at the club. Is that still on?
Yes, so what I'm going to do is, once we get approval, I'll reach out to the vendor and see how fast we can get these. And if it's going to be a delay that interferes with an event that Edgar and team have on the calendar, I will bring those over and we'll get it set up.
Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion? Show 7-0. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you. Well, this concludes almost my interim food service director responsibilities. And I'm going to say that you all are going to love Christine Martinez. She's going to be a welcome team member for staff and for the village, and I'm very excited for her to join us.
Thank you, Beth. Wells, come on up here. You're going to really spend some money for us, aren't you?
Karen, if you could do the same for me that you did with Beth, and fast forward to the large primary rough mowers. Oh, back. Let's see. Yep. All right, I'm coming to you today for the purchase of 3 large primary rough mowers, one for each course. The budget amount for this came in at $339,900. Our request amount came in at $325,318. Our current units were all purchased in 2012. They've been great machines in our operations for 14 seasons. They're getting to the point where high engine hours are starting to show through increased maintenance costs, decreased engine power, low hydraulic system efficiency, resulting in quite a poor quality of cut, especially in the heat of the summer when the grass gets thick. These machines are part of a 3-piece combo that mows and maintains over 60 acres of rough at Tanasi and Tokwa and over 80 acres of rough at Kahite. It's a dynamic machine that runs on a 2.1 liter, 55 horsepower turbo diesel. It has the ability to mow 6 to 8 acres of rough per hour under normal operating conditions. We use these machines for 25 to 30 hours a week during the growing season and an additional 15 to 25 hours a week from mid-October through December to help mulch leaves. Over the past 14 seasons, these machines have served us really well, but have surpassed their useful life with very high hours. All of our machines have experienced loss of engine power and hydraulic issues, especially over the last 2 years, once they kind of reach that 5,000 hour mark. Tanasi has the highest hours with over 6,000. Kahite's right at 5,500, and Tokwa's slightly less at 4,873. They're probably over 4,900 hours at this point. These machines are very important to our operation, along with our small rough units and our large pull-behind rough unit. It gives us the ability to keep our rough mowed at 1.5 inches to 2 inches, even in the heat of the summer during peak growing conditions. I've kind of talked about this at a couple other meetings, but I don't think there's any area of the golf course that can have as much negative impact on golfer satisfaction or course playability, regardless of your handicap or experience level, as the rough. If the rough is too tall, balls get lost. Golfers spend a lot of time locating balls, which slows down pace of play. When Jordan Clark first took over at Kahite, that was like the #1 thing on his hit list, was get the rough at Kahite down to a reasonable level. Yeah, I think prior to Jordan's arrival, they were mowing the rough 3.5 inches, and balls, you'd hit a great ball in the fairway and it would roll off into the rough and you'd lose it. So I'm sure Carla and Ed remember that. Jordan had, I think, 2 years of really trying to get that rough down to a reasonable height. We sent the bid out with specifications to our 3 equipment vendors, stating that we all wanted to get quotes on 3 large primary rough mowers similar to our current Toro units. All 3 vendors responded back with a bid. I didn't update this slide. The Toro is actually not the highest bid at this point. We actually were able to we ordered these in August of 2024, and at the time there was an 18 to 24 month lead time on these. So we actually got 2026 units for 2024 prices. So the Toro is not the highest bid. That's an incorrect statement on there that I needed to correct and didn't. But these are the best rough mowers on the market. Toro has a full-time 4-wheel drive compared to John Deere's grip all-wheel drive design that transfers power to where it determines is needed. Toro prides itself on cut quality, and this is evident when comparing the after appearance of Toro rough mowers and John Deere rough mowers. I have mentors and friends in the industry that are full John Deere lease packages and love their John Deere equipment with the exception of the rough mowers. I got a friend close by that has a full John Deere package, and he's trying to figure out how to switch to Toro rough mowers. The Jacobson option is the cheapest bid, and from what I've heard, for good reason. The design and durability of construction are not comparable to the Toro. Jacobson only has a 50 horsepower engine that is not turbo. I've heard stories. John North, the superintendent at Toqua, used to be the superintendent at a course in Atlanta, and they had an AR 530, and they literally had to, in the heat of the summer when the grass was thick, they had to drive to the top of a hill, engage their mower decks, and mow down the hill because the mower couldn't pull up the hill with the decks engaged. The productivity of the Jacobson is also less than the Toro. It's only listed to mow around 4 acres an hour, whereas the Toro is 6 to 8. Again, full-time four-wheel drive on the Toro. We did ask about leasing with Smith Turf on these, and they stated it would be for a 60-month lease with a buyout option at the end would be right around $56.76 a month, which comes out to $345.60, because that lease price is based on 2026 model pricing. And then they did have a true lease. We could pay $5,500 a month for 48 months, would come out to $264. There'd be no buyout option on that with a 2,400 maximum hour limit, which you'd then pay a penalty if you went over that. So we don't want to pay a penalty, and we also don't want to limit the use of these machines. We knew we'd want to replace these units with Toro, so we ordered these units in 2024, and they're actually now in Knoxville waiting to be delivered. But Beard and Ladd stated it'd be 6 to 8 months. This is kind of a picture of these three units. They all look very similar, have a similar width of cut. There's just small differences in some of the components on the machines. The Toro seems to be more durable, more heavy-duty metal for the lift arms than the John Deere and the Jacobson units. So the table below lists the prices from our three bids with tax included. As you can see, I didn't change that either. But yeah, so $325, $318, I'm sorry, for the Toro, $351 for the John Deere, and $307 for the Jacobson AR 530. So we would like to recommend the purchase of 3 Toro 4,500 Groundsmasters for $325, $318. Smith Turf has given us a great deal on these mowers by honoring August 2024 pricing, which when we put the orders in, the 2026 pricing for these mowers was $113 each before tax, so they would have been around $121 and some change, so about $14,000 savings by ordering these a couple years ahead of time. I did want to include this because I know this has been a big year for Golf Maintenance Capital, so just kind of see where we're at, see where we're headed. Everything kind of through April is here. Any of the red cells are just a couple items that were slightly over budget, and then it shows we've still got a truck replacement, a large leaf vac, and the Kahite Greens expansion to come. Of that budgeted $1,213,000, we plan to end the year, if all this shakes out, at $1,136,000. So again, if all goes as planned, we'll end the year about $77,000 under our capital budget for 2026. These are the funding requests for all three. They're all three the same, so I don't know if you guys want to approve one at a time or all three for the, let me back up here, for the 325, 318.
In the interest of lean leadership, the chair will entertain a motion to buy all three at the same time.
I'll make the motion to buy all 3 primary rough mowers for a requested amount of $325,318.95.
Second.
On the question?
I only got one question.
Yep.
I know Lowell Russell would tell you it's a long, long way from Loudoun County to Nashville. Why does it take 6 to 8 months?
Well, Nashville is just where they get shipped to the Tennessee office for Smith Turf and Irrigation for final assembly and check, and then they get shipped over to Knoxville. Yeah.
No, not a serious question. I just thought, wow, that's long.
Yeah, no, they're not getting, that's just
It's
where
like IKEA.
everything kind of comes together. They put it together and.
You have to assemble them first.
Yeah. Put the hours on them. Yeah, that's right. And, we have a life expectancy on these at 10 years. That's probably longer than most courses would run these units, but we feel like if we can get them to that 5,000 hour mark, we're averaging between 450 and 500 hours a year. So, 8 to 10 years is what we expect. We got 14 seasons out of these, so.
Madam Vice President?
I just have a kind of a comment. I'm always for rough mowers, especially as Wells mentioned, the former practices at Kahite were to leave the rough pretty long. And there was a foursome of guys that played golf over there, and they were not very happy with the number of golf balls they lost. I remember a new villager came in the pub and said that he had played 9 holes in a scramble and lost 6 golf balls. And so there was a foursome of guys that came over to Tanasi, because Casey's office was over there at the time, and they knocked down his door and hauled him out and wanted to complain about the rough at Kahite, and he listened very intently to them and patiently. And at the end of their tirade, he very calmly said, "Fairways and greens, gentlemen, fairways and greens." And I'm not sure that was the answer they were looking for, but I think that they would also be in support of these mowers.
Hey, I paid to see the whole course. I want to see it all. That's where
Yeah.
I'm at with it.
Yeah.
On the question, all in favor? I show the vote 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I have a number of vehicle requests that are contained within this, and I just want to make some opening comments about the vehicle request process for some new board members so that you kind of understand what we're doing and go the correct direction. So to follow the purchasing policy, we're soliciting, not necessarily receiving, 3 quotes, okay? It's kind of an interesting exercise when you're soliciting these vehicle quotes with some of these dealerships. Only a handful of them, Jackie Jones Ford and Beatty Chevrolet, are generally willing to play ball. Outside of that, it sometimes depends who you get on the phone. Some are inclined to say, well, why don't you come on down to the lot and we'll have a look? And it's like, no. I want to buy a truck. Can you write a number down on a piece of paper? I don't want to come visit. And sometimes we get good quotes, and sometimes we're a little slim. But keep in mind, we're quoted vehicles that are generally on the lot or on order. So from the time we start getting these quotes and go through the process of PSAC to FAC and to the board, it's about 5 weeks that are going by before we're generally in a position to make a purchase. So what you're seeing is quotes for what may or may not, for any number of reasons, would be available when we're ready to purchase, okay? So if you got a vehicle on the lot, 5 weeks goes by, may not be there anymore. You got a vehicle on order, shows up, customer has money, out the door it goes. We're not in a position to, we are in a position, but I don't like the idea of putting down deposits, going through this process, figuring out what amount of money keeps the vehicle on the lot. I'd rather just get approval for it. So we have the authority to exceed the approved funding request by 10% so that when the real purchase process resumes, we can go secure the vehicle. So when I'm giving you some very generic kinds of motions here, I try not to make reference so much to a Ford or Chevrolet. You can see what I've quoted, but at the end of the day, if we're talking a mid-sized truck, could be the Ford Ranger, could be the Chevy Colorado, could be the Dodge Durango. It's going to be something like that. And generally at this point, what we're talking about is how quick can we get it? You got it on the lot, you got a price I can work with, great. And certainly call around. And even at this point, we've got Carvana, we got CarMax, we've got used options that we can go after as well. But I just kind of want to make the point, we're going through a quoting process to get authority to spend money, and then once we've got our target, we go out and do our real shopping.
Matt, can I ask a question about that before you go on? This comes off a conversation at lunch. I've got at least one colleague up here who's bought a new vehicle recently, and his hand is still kind of shaking from writing the check. But I think it's generally true now that dealers don't keep a huge inventory on their lots. People order what they want, or they need to take whatever happens to be there, which is kind of what you're talking about. we would obviously have to have really good long-range planning and maintenance records and look at the useful life of what we got. But my question is, could we, I don't mean right now, but as we go forward and we improve on all our processes, could we be looking at, we know in 6 months, 9 months, a year, whatever, we need a new truck, we're going to go order exactly what we want? Do you think that's even possible?
I really wouldn't do that because most of what we're using for vehicles, there's a couple of exceptions in this request, but most of our fleet are half-tons, mid-sized trucks, and a couple of 1-tons and 3/4 tons intermingled in there. So far, since I've been doing this as Director of Public Works, we have always been able, at some point, to find something on somebody's lot. And really, I mean, we're not, we're buying a truck. We're not buying something that's got
Specific, yeah.
a roll cage or something like that in it. It's just, it's a truck. And at this point, trying to order something, to me, if that's what the board wanted, I'd do it, but I don't think it gets you anywhere at this point. We
That
have
makes
not
sense.
run into a problem where we got funding and then it was like, I can't find anything. We're just looking for a truck. So you'll see some of the requests that I'm making today are in excess and some are below the budgeted amounts. For the larger items, which are generally the ones that are over the budgeted request, I do want to let you know we did some really extensive shopping in preparation for the budget. That would have been in the June, July frame. The Liberation Day tariff announcements were made April of 2025, and there was some considerable uncertainty about the implications of what that's all going to mean. I can't state with you any certainty that tariffs influenced our miss on the budget. I can say we talked to some vendors. We thought we had some really good quotes about what it was going to cost to buy these bigger pieces of equipment, but at the end of the day, we wrote a number down, had good confidence in it, and got our quotes, and not so confident in it anymore. The one thing that I am glad for this experience is I was aware there was a sales tax exemption, but I couldn't for the life of me understand it. It basically, the way it works, it is per department, per year, you're exempt from $25,000 of sales tax paid. So everything I'm talking about in here is priced with sales tax. Some of the vehicles are being ordered, some may be on the lot, some we may be grabbing something that's on order, or it may not even be the vehicle we quoted. Basically, I don't know which of those are going to be the first to qualify for the sales tax exemption. There's no way to tell. So we priced them all with sales tax, and I'll show you kind of the final tally of the vehicle purchase, but it's just added in there. I don't know how much of this you'll want me to go into, but we did spend a lot of time thinking a little bit about our vehicles, the mileage. Joel alluded to this point. When I was looking at these specific vehicles, we're looking at putting something in the neighborhood of about 18,000 miles on these vehicles. It's, in many cases, it's just the nature of public works. We were talking about instances where the utility locate vehicle gets called for a locate down in Kahite, comes back, you get an emergency locate back down to Kahite, you get back on your job, you drive up to Coyote, you may finish that up, head down to Mialakwa. We do have a lot of mileage accumulation on these, and I'm all open for an assessment of can we do better, because gas is going to get us. But when you're looking at these vehicles and how much mileage is accumulated on them, sometimes it's just a matter of, I had this experience being out with the guys, I think it was last year, we were shoveling snow, and we stopped for lunch, and in the span of 15 minutes, 5 sewer alarm calls came in. Just bang, 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 and everybody went in their separate direction, and Matt was standing there with a snow shovel. All my helpers were gone. So here's a list of all the vehicles that I'm proposing to buy, kind of like in Beth's situation. Some of them don't meet the threshold of a formal board approval today, but I wanted to show you the whole tally. You've got the budget column there. You've got the actual request. Somebody in FAC, I think, added up. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of 400,000 something worth of vehicles to be purchased. So on the gross there, on the delta, we were $20,000 over. When I apply the sales tax exemption, we come in $5,000 to the good on all the vehicle purchases. So I'm going to run through these kind of quick. If you want me to go into some detail, I'm happy to do it. The first one is a Chevy Colorado 4x2. This is in the Streets and Common Property Division. It's a 2005 Chevy Colorado that has 310,000 miles on it as of February of 2026. It's a little long in the tooth. This truck has been through the process of being handed around through the Water and Sewer Department. And generally, we're using it a lot for utility type things, but also mailbox installations. With that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th bullet point, you're going to see that as a feature over and over and over again. We got $267 worth of repairs in this vehicle, not including the normal maintenance. The trade-in resale value is probably between $500 and $1,500 in its current condition. I would say probably closer to $500 than $1,500. And you start dealing with one major repair, and you face the Sophie's choice of, I know this repair is worth more than the value of the vehicle, but darn it, I need the vehicle. What am I going to do? And that's the case with a lot of these. The one benefit of the mid-size vehicle is we can use it when you need a shovel, you got a bunch of mailbox posts and a bunch of mailboxes. It keeps us from using the 1-tons and stuff like that guzzle the gas. So it's a pretty good fit for us. And I'm going the wrong way again. I can talk you through our quotes, but I'm going to skip through that in the interest of time. There's the quotes that we got. Like I said, we're running through a couple of different vendors. It's always interesting to me that you're looking at a Ford Ranger, for instance, from Jackie Jones for $34,800. Same Ford Ranger from Lenore City Ford. What are we looking at there? $400 difference. For all I know, that's floor mats. I don't know what's driving that. Could be dealership overhead. Could be their shipping charges. I don't know what that is. Generally for a Chevy Colorado, we're getting 3 years, $36,000 on it. And the reason this one specifically is in front of you is we budgeted $30,000 for it, and we'd be over by about $7,000, but I showed you on the final total, we're coming out okay. And I've got a motion for you. I don't know why it's not fitting on the screen, doesn't matter, but it's there for you if you wish to use it.
I'll make the motion to replace the mid-size truck for Streets and Common Property Division of Public Works in the amount of $36,900.
Second.
On the question?
I got a question for the board on this. That was a good presentation from Matt. Overall, this whole thing comes out under budget. I'm confident Matt is going to have a good case to make for each of these vehicles. I wonder if we don't want to just approve the lot. I would.
Is there an amendment to the motion?
I'll amend that we support and
back that
approve all the public trucks that Matt is proposing in this, as long as they stay under budget totally.
Is that the one you wanted? Is that what you were pointing at? Okay.
Yeah. Is that
Should
good with
we,
it? You good with
should
that,
we
Matt?
read those into the motion? Should we read the vehicles into the motion?
When they pull
Okay.
the file, they're going to want to see that these vehicles are mentioned.
Okay, so in the motion is a Chevy van for I'm going to just go generic, a van for $32,176, a pickup truck for $41,738, another pickup truck for $36,909, another pickup truck for
That's a 350.
$350 for $99,348, a large dump truck for $147,636, a housekeeping vehicle for $34,629, and a big 3/4 ton maintenance truck for $55,784, and I need to breathe.
Is there a second
I'll second it.
on the question?
Yeah, Matt, so on the ones, the big ticket items, the 55,000, the 86,000, the 130,000, and the 60,000, all of them are over 10 years old and have extensive miles, so I'm absolutely cool with those. I don't know anything about the other ones. What's the age of them and what are the miles?
So, shoot, Joel, so when the, this is difficult.
You start.
So when I get to this point, I don't have an individual presentation for each of them. I'm happy to follow up with an email. Every single one of these, the Chevrolet van that's used for utility locates was very close to 300,000 miles, and the value of the vehicle was right there at the point that one repair. Same with the Chevy Colorado. You were asking about the big ones, weren't you?
No, the big ones I'm fine with.
Oh, the big ones
Yeah,
you're
the
fine
big ones
with.
are cool. The
Okay.
ones that I don't have any information on is I don't have any miles or age.
Okay.
So every one that you're asking for is over 10 years old. Everyone has over, 150,000 or more.
Yes.
Some over 300,000.
Yes.
I'm completely cool with those. But these other ones, I don't know anything about.
I'm
So
sorry.
I don't know the year. I don't know the mileage.
They are all in the same neighborhood, and I'm happy to follow up with you via email. What I run into is I got to make specific requests to comply with the purchasing policy over 50,000. The ones that are under 50,000, I just kind of assume we're at board level and I'm getting approval for the ones that I can't sign for.
Specifically, Joel, are you talking about the housekeeping vehicle there?
Basically,
'Cause I
Mike,
can tell you what that
it's-
one is. That's the one that
That's
prompted-
the
That's my windshield time question.
Right, that's the Buick Enclave.
Yeah.
But what I don't know is the 32, the 30, and the 35, those three, I don't know the age and the mileage. I do know the Enclave has got a bazillion miles and it's 215, but we're certainly not replacing, what is that, what are we replacing it with?
A,
See, I don't have any information. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't need a Buick Enclave,
oh, no, sir.
right?
Just-
So that was Winston's company car.
Exactly. And
So
we
we don't
got
need a
it.
luxury car for the house cleaning
No, no,
crew
no,
to
no.
go driving
And
around.
Public Works landed with that basically as a hand-me-down, and it was long on the tooth the day we got it.
I'd like to make a suggestion. Since the ones that are the dollar amounts below $50,000, I'm sorry, Ed, I know you read that all without taking a breath, but maybe we just take those out. And because he doesn't need board approval for those anyway. So he just put them on the list because he's got a whole list of vehicles to purchase. The only ones we have to approve are the ones that are over $50,000.
Okay, I hear you, right? But at the same time, I think, I want to know.
I'm just saying he's offering to
residents might
give
wanna
us
know,
that
too.
information later. He doesn't have it with him right now, so why don't we just change the motion to approve the ones that we need to approve, and
I'm
then he
okay
can
with that.
provide the information later.
That's fine. I can go with that.
Carl,
That's my
actually, I would just leave the motion as it is. Matt's going to send to Joel and if necessary, all the rest of us, okay, here's how old this one was, here's how many miles, et cetera.
Is
But
there anything under,
I'll take his
is there
word.
anything on there under 100,000 miles?
No.
All right, I
Absolutely
will
not.
agree to approve. You send the information.
You got it.
Supporting all the age, the
you got
mileage, and the models.
You got it.
We're replacing them with, like I said, I don't want a luxury
You got
car.
it. We are not buying another Enclave for housekeeping. That is not,
Did somebody second Ed's motion? I didn't see that. Okay. On the question? All in favor? 7-0, thank you. I'm going to win the under, Matt.
I know. Blah, 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 blah. There we go.
Good afternoon. I'm here.
Scott, can we give Matt just one more? He's got one more proposal here he's got to get to us.
Let's go on.
Okay.
Back up.
Okay.
All right. I'm here to request additional fund or request new funding or alternative funding for the Kahite lift station. Basically, the Kahite lift station has had 4 overflows in recent years. I know, Mike, you said 3. Only 3 of them are on the consent order. We had one the year before, so that's why I had 4 there. The Jacobs Engineering Group had done a study indicating that the reason we've had a lot of these overflows is due to the rain-derived inflow and infiltration. It can be up to about 4 times of normal flow. And this project was originally approved last July for Jacobs to do the study, the preliminary engineering, and then engineer the and engineer the lift station. We put that on hold as the new board came on because Jacobs had just completed the preliminary engineering study and the preliminary engineering report, and we wanted to move forward with a new engineering firm. But so basically, as we look through this, we are looking at approximately 480 gallons a minute of flow during heavy rains. The Kahite lift station has a 6-inch discharge line, which is basically limiting to about 500 gallons a minute. So we would be right at where we need if we put maximum size pumps in the lift station. Jacobs did give us a preliminary engineering report, as I mentioned. They came up with three specific options. One was to renovate the lift station, basically increase the pump size, install variable frequency drives, replace the electrical service. Again, when you put in variable speed drives, you have to replace all the electrical service because none of it's to code, and then add meters and controls similar to what we're doing at the main lift station. The other one would be to put in new components and pumps, again, duplicate the main lift station size difference, but same philosophy without the need for an electrical building or an emergency generator. Or put in a package station. Basically, the package station, you dig a hole, you drop in a wet well that already has the pumps installed, some of the internal piping, then you just pipe it up and go from there. Jacobs gave us a Class 5 cost estimate, and all 3 of the options came in essentially the same, between $2.6 and $2.9 million. There was discussion as to which way do we go back in the November workshop. The board came in and their first action was to put everything on hold for 90 days. So we've waited. We're now past the 90-day period and want to move forward with engaging a new engineering firm to do the work that we originally had scheduled for Jacobs to do. So Jacobs is on hold and is no longer working on this particular task order. We did evaluate 3 engineering firms. I mentioned this a number of presentations. We've got 3 engineering firms that were qualified. We've got 2 fully qualified firms, Cannon & Cannon out of Knoxville, CTI Engineers out of Chattanooga, and a marginally qualified firm out of Alcoa, which is C2RL. CCI and CTI are both full-service engineering firms, so they can do everything that's needed at the lift station with in-house staff. CTI is about 100 engineers and staff. Cannon & Cannon has 1,800 through their various offices, with 150 here in Knoxville. They've got the largest professional engineering team in Knoxville. And C2RL is a 12-person shop with their founder having recently retired. Basically, what we'd like to do is move forward with CTI to look at the lift station. And the idea here would be for them to do a complete review of what Jacobs had done, primarily to confirm some of the original information. We're going to give them flow data, actual flow data and all, but Jacobs has done a comprehensive study, so those documents are a fast way for a new engineering firm to get up to speed. They have visited the site. They looked at it and did have an extensive discussion with us on that. On the drive up from Chattanooga, the design engineer mentioned that 7 of the lift stations that they passed between Chattanooga and here, he was the lead designer on. So he's very familiar with this area. Originally, the board approved $240,000. Jacobs has spent just over $40,000, so we've got $199,000 remaining on the Jacobs task order that we could use for this. We have a task order proposal for CTI to do a preliminary engineering report, a 30% basis of design, 60, 90, and a final design for the renovation and or upgrade of this lift station. So depending on whichever way we go. The thought here in the way the task order is written is that they would do the preliminary engineering report, provide the cost estimates for all three options, and make a recommendation as to which of those three options they would recommend we move forward with. That would, of course, go through the PSAC and then come to the board for a decision as to do we follow their recommendation or do we do something else? So basically, the board asked us to find another engineering firm to get a different opinion as to our path forward. We have done that, and so this is the proposal that I have to approve $175,000 for CTI to do the engineering work at Kahite.
Any questions?
So CTI is going to review all the data that Jacobs gathered. So if they find it's wrong, they might make some adjustments or change the design based on their review of the data, correct?
The entire purpose for them to not only look at the data that Jacobs has provided, but also to look at actual flows that we have from TAS, both the water and the wastewater, because it's a lot easier to accurately measure water flow than it is wastewater flow. So we want to make sure that there's no discrepancies there. They will also put some meters on when they come up and do some measurements as well. So yes, they will not just accept Jacobs's design basis. They are going to, the preliminary engineering design and then the 30% basis of design is for them to tell us this is the design basis that they will be using going forward, and that allows them to size the pumps, size the wet wells, size any of the piping and all the instrumentation.
Okay, and the three options that were listed, basically fixed in place, replace equipment that's in place, upgrade it, build a totally new separate station,
Correct.
and build in a separate package station. Really, there are no other options in those three to do this, correct?
Well, there is always the option to do nothing, and when it rains, when it rains, hope that it doesn't overflow.
But from a repair standpoint, there's really no other options. Jacob's laid out all three options.
That's correct.
We can't see this firm saying there's other options other than those three.
Correct.
Okay.
There is one more option that I'm sure you wouldn't be happy with.
Yeah.
And that would be to put a poop tank at the end of the driving range.
Yeah, that was the original one. I remember that one.
That was the original option.
Yeah, they were going to bury it, and I was like, I still wasn't happy with that.
So Scott, thank you. So again, we talked about this on Monday at the FAC. I'm still struggling with why we went away from TAS's recommendation, Mark Clinton. So TAS, for those of you that don't know, they are the agency that provides the water and wastewater for Kahite. They recommended C2RL. That's who they work with, and that's who they recommended. We met with them once, just a meet and greet, and they were very, you could tell they're great fiduciaries of the rest of the customer. They're very concerned with not over-engineering. Their first concern is doing it right. Their second concern is doing what the customer wants. I like them. And you told me that the president's retired. I talked to him yesterday. He's not retired.
He said he was retiring at the end of 25, so then if he's not retired, well, that's fine.
He's not retired.
Okay.
Okay? He's gonna be here through the year. Yeah, but he's still there. Good guy. He did not have anything to do with Kahite. You were concerned that some things maybe weren't done right at Kahite, and he had a hand in it.
I didn't say he didn't have did it wrong at Kahite. I said he did it wrong in the main lift station, in the main village.
But he didn't work for CCI. He worked for Lester and Hoschel. Okay, so he wasn't the one that was actually doing that. You said that they declined a request to visit.
During our interviews, yes.
Through the RFQ?
Because they had just been there.
He said, nope, never asked.
Yes, we did.
I'm just telling you what he said.
I'm telling you what we did.
So he said no.
I'll bring in the notes if you want them.
He says, I don't remember ever being asked to come and visit. So, to me.
All three firms were asked if they wanted to come and visit.
I'm giving you the answer.
I'm telling you what we did. You weren't in those meetings. I'm telling you, I was in the meeting with Chris and John Tierney.
You mean, so it was a phone call, right? Was it a Zoom call or what?
It was a Zoom call, but they were invited to come for an in-person meeting or take it via Zoom.
So, knowing that I'm a very firm believer in relationships, I believe it's very important for us to do the things that Mike and I have been focusing on the last 15 months is reestablishing relationships with LUB, TAS, TRDA, and with working with Mark Clinton, the director of TAS, and his recommendation was C2RL, and it's also a local firm. And we talked about Monday about the travel. What do we pay for travel costs, travel time for the engineers to come up from Chattanooga? Probably not a huge number by any stretch, but at the end of the day, I think that your reasoning for picking CTI, I don't agree with.
That's fine. You don't have to agree with it. PSAC did.
Okay.
And this was the recommendation that PSAC put forward.
I understand.
And all.
They're advisory committee.
Yes.
They're advising. I understand.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I have to accept it, though.
TAS uses 3 engineering firms to do their engineering work. C2RL is only one of the 3. They use Canon and Canon to do all of their water modeling and hydraulic modeling. So they use
other firms.
The other firm as well and all. We felt CTI was much more qualified.
Okay.
They're a larger firm. They have the full in-house capabilities, which C2RL does not have. They rely on subcontractors for all their mechanical design, all their electrical design. If they have to do architectural design, that would be minimal, but any of that, all of that goes outside and therefore runs the risk of not having the type of control that we would want to have and that PSAC normally has and that you would have with an in-house firm.
Yeah, and his right hand, Richard Yarborough's right hand is David Quillen, and what a great resume that guy has in this field. I mean,
you haven't seen the resumes of CTI's engineers. True. They are equally impressive.
Okay.
One question too, how long is this project for Kahite going to last? Is it 12, 18 months to get it installed?
That has been a source of a lot of discussion. Okay. And one of the things that I was directed to do when I put the schedule together for this was the reviews that you see up there, the preliminary engineering report, and then the 30, 60, 90, and final design, all of those were to go to PSAC. And the only time we have to, of course, go to the board is when we ask for the approvals, right? So today, and then when we get the preliminary engineering report and we come back and say, where do we go from here? Do you want to go renovate, new package? We would come back to the board for you to direct us there. The rest of the time, it just has to go to PSAC, and then, of course, your monthly updates that you would get during the board meetings. But we still, in order to do that, there's 2 times during the month when PSAC meets. Now, we can meet out off schedule, but they meet on the first Monday of the month, and they meet on the Thursday after the board meetings. So what I did was I scheduled all of these design reviews to occur on either a Monday or a Thursday of the month, and the document would be in the hands of PSAC at least 7 days in advance, so that they could come, that they would have the documents. They're not sitting there in front of a PowerPoint presentation saying, I wish I had known you were going to bring this up because I've got a real question on that, or I don't know what question to ask, so we could get it all done immediately. So we've got the timing schedule there, and then they have time to not only to prepare for those meetings, but then to respond to the questions that come up. I would venture to say, in the reviews that I've seen so far, between Chris Costello and John Tierney, they usually come up with about 30 questions to 50 questions at each review, and sometimes more. And I suspect with the 2 new engineers, based on their discussions during PSAC between Mr. Zika and Mr. Altman, they'll be equally judicious in their questioning. And while some of them are the same questions, there's also a lot of different questions. So it's not an easy task to get through these reviews. And that's why it's taken right now 11 months. If we shorten any of those, both Gary and I think this can be done in 6 months, but not to go through this.
Okay. Well, and that is something that we need to discuss with PSAC and stuff like that, because, as of we're in a dry season right now in Kahite, we're not getting much rain. But if that changes, my concerns is we don't want another overflow, and especially since we're under a consent decree already, I'd like to see this move forward as quickly as we could, that's done professionally and right. So, yeah.
Can I make a comment? Levon Mitchell, Kahite.
Hi.
I just wanted to say thank you very much, Scott, for what you do and what you've done, and PSAC. And PSAC, we've got just a wealth of information on that group. And from, of course, selfishly, because this is in Kahite, I would be very concerned about using a firm that contradicts what Scott has provided. I have no doubt that that gentleman was invited to the Zoom, and for him to contradict that, I would worry about using that vendor. Just, that's my comment. And again, thank you, Scott, and thank you, PSAC, because they have so much information and so much knowledge.
Thank you, Lilibon.
I just have a question. I guess it'd be for you, Scott. What is the, I'm just making notes here, you bear with me. What is the downside of this C2RL? What is it? I guess my question is, Kahite gets her water, it's TAS. They use C2RL. We work with TAS. I'm just trying to figure why we're not closer working.
I think there's two reasons on that, Larry. The first and the obvious one, the first and the most obvious, and the one that John, Chris, and I, and this decision goes back to before John Olson and Gary Zika joined the board. So we were already working with CTI as the firm that we thought was the better firm to go to. The first one is because C2RL is a civil engineering firm only. They only do civil engineering, which of course includes water and wastewater, but they don't do any of the mechanical design. They don't do any of the structural design. If we go new, either way, new or the package unit's a little bit simpler from a structural standpoint, but you still have structural engineering. All of that gets subbed out. All of the mechanical engineering, all of the piping engine design, all of that gets subbed out if we use C2RL. All the instrumentation gets subbed out. So the fact that it's being done in-house, being coordinated in the same office by CTI, simplifies that design. The other concern that came up, now this is a minor concern, but this is definitely a concern, because TAS is working is also working with, C2RL is working with TAS. If there's a conflict between between TAS and something that we need, where does C2RL go? Do they favor TAS at our expense, or do they answer questions for TAS that we wouldn't do that? Because they're a small firm, they can't separate themselves physically and engineering on the two projects. So if there's a conflict of the need that TAS needs something and a conflict that we need, do they drop us, or what do they do in the meantime? I don't think they would be unprofessional. I think they would handle it professionally, because I agree with Joel. Meeting Mr. Quinlan and Mr. Yarbrough, they're very professional engineers. I have no doubt about that. But if there's a conflict, their office is so small, they can't abate that conflict and say, Mike, you go do this for me. I'm going to work on this one. You go work on that one. That type of thing.
So,
like I said, that's a minor one. I think it's more capability.
Okay, so that's what I was curious about, is you're concerned that they may not have the resources to perform a $100,000 job.
I'm not concerned they won't have the resources. What I'm concerned with is that if they're working for TAS and they're working for us at the same time, how do they separate that?
I don't know that I want them to. They need to be kind of interchanged. What concerns?
They don't, no, I'm not saying.
Please.
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
What concerns would you have that TAS would not want what we're doing?
I don't have any concerns that they wouldn't want what we are doing. Mike, and they've already said, if we want to put in 500 GPM pumps, they can handle the 500 GPM. Now, their question to us at that meeting, of course, that you were in, was if you're putting in your RDI and I remediation, why aren't you reducing the flow? And we said, well, we think we're going to reduce the flow, but this way we don't have to put a tank in. They should want what we want, but if they want something different, which way does an engineering firm go? And if it's if we have two different engineering firms, they're going to have to work together anyway, because we can't give TAS anything that they can't take, and they won't want us to do anything that would have a negative impact on them.
Are you aware that this board gave Matt the authority to sign a new revised task contract?
For the water and wastewater, yes.
For the wastewater?
Yeah.
What flows were involved in that, do you know?
I have not seen the contract. He hasn't shared it with me.
Okay. I assure you, looking at what we've shipped them in the past and what we are projected to ship them in the future, because I was just looking up the billings, we're not going to remotely approach that. And am I misstating something there, Matt? There's no flow limitation. That's the only thing that would be a conflict with TAS is the flow limitation, similar to what we have at LUB right now. But the contract that we have that's good for the next 5 years, 5 years, we can't remotely approach shipping them that. We ship them about 1 million, 2 or 3 a month on average, and this contract's 5 million. So I don't see where there could be a conflict between us and TAS. If anything, they'd probably want us to treat our rainwater so they can bill us for it.
Yeah, it's also all about the instantaneous flow rates and the instantaneous design.
Which is 500 GPM.
Which we don't know. We're waiting for CTI to tell us. We could tell them we want 500. The discussion that we're having right now about what that flow rate should be, John Oldman has been beating on me at every PSAC meeting, which is perfectly legitimate, and his concern is we're using too much flow, that it should be smaller and less.
It's true.
Because we only use, in his particular case, his household uses 49 gallons a day of water per person. So he's right at 80 to 90 gallons of house. The design that TDEC requires us to use is 100 gallons per person per day, so twice that. And then you go times 4, and now you start looking at, and then the times 4 is the RDI and I, sorry. Didn't mean to just. The question that we have is what should be the design basis, and that's why we're giving the actual flows to CTI and letting them do the study here and say, we think your design basis ought to be, I'm going to make up a number here, 350 gallons a minute. And that's what we should size it for. They will come back to us and we can sit there and say, and we've asked them, what's the downside of using 500 gallons a minute? That's part of this task order. And if they come back and say, well, we think it should be 350, but if you want 500, here's what it's going to cost you. The pumps are this much more, the controls are this much more. So incrementally, that's not bad, but that's a pretty cheap insurance policy. That's part of this task order, for them to tell us that.
Okay, let me digest that. Thank you.
One question. So you told us why you didn't select C2RL. Why didn't you select Canon and Canon?
That's a little bit, it's a little bit because we've got 3 new engineering firms, 2 that, again, we thought were the most qualified. The other major project that was ongoing until we stopped it was the elevated water tank. And that was becoming so controversial that it was pretty clear that I don't think this board was going to move forward without getting another engineering firm to look at that. When I looked at CTI and when we looked at Canon and Canon does the hydraulic water system modeling for 20 utilities in eastern Tennessee, northern Georgia, and Kentucky, including TAS. So the theory there was, let's take Jacobs off of that project, off of our elevated water tank project, and put Cannon and Cannon on that. They've got some of the best water modelers around. They're familiar with water systems here and what the situations are. Give them that task order. And then what that does is that gives us 2 new engineering firms that we have not worked with, that are fully qualified, that we could then say, I really like the way this firm works better, PSAC likes it better, they do better reviews. Going forward, let's do that. But I believe we would have the best wastewater design at Kahite, because they're a good quality firm, CTI is a good quality firm, and we would get a really good answer on our water system, because we've got the best hydraulic modelers in East Tennessee, checking out what do we really need on our water side? Do we need an elevated tank? Do we need a storage tank? Do we need changes hydraulically someplace else?
Okay, to me, it sounds like PSAC's done a very detailed analysis of all these firms and picked the what they feel is the best one to go forward with for the sewer at this point. And so I'm leaning toward trusting my PSAC committee and those experts on their recommendation. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
These C2RL, when you said, who would they go to if we had an issue, us or TAS? I mean, that's a hypothetical, right?
Absolutely, it's a hypothetical, and any issue or any question that came up between us and TAS has to be resolved mutually, because we can't send TAS anything that they don't want, and they can't prevent us from doing anything that we would need. It would have to be worked out from an engineering standpoint. It's just that it just brings up who might they favor while they're still being neutral. It's not. It's a minor concern.
Yeah,
it's just a concern.
Okay, you said a minor concern. My thing is, if we work with TAS like we work with LUB, and if I heard it right, C2RL was works with TAS now.
So does CTI, and so does Cannon and Cannon.
I'm just thinking through this as we talk about it. With C2RL, you were saying they only do the civil engineering. So for any structural engineering or, I can't remember the other types.
Mechanical, the I&E, the instrumentation and
design,
electrical and controls.
That would all have to be.
They subcontract out. They do have
out.
people they work with, yes.
Okay, and then would we have all-in pricing from them? I mean, these are the kinds of things that we talk about all the time when we're looking at vendors, whether they have all the capabilities in-house or whether we're looking at, learning new costs as we go along because they have to sub out these services. Is that right? I just don't.
Normally what they would do, they would price it the same way, and what if we would go to C2RL and give them the statement of work, they would come back with a task order proposal that would include all of their subs, and they would just, and they have, all three have given us price sheets. So we know what the pricing is. They're all very similar. They are not the same. They are all similar, which obviously you would expect. The other question you always have is, one firm's senior engineer might have 10 years experience, another firm's senior engineer might only have 5, or they might have 20. So again, looking at the rates is not always the same as looking at who's that individual and who were the qualifications that they put on there and the named individuals on the project. And we did say you cannot change, once you put an engineer on, you cannot change that engineer unless you give us an equal or better qualified individual.
And so based on what Ed just said, the PSAC committee has had the benefit of having all of that information, and
Yes.
based on their review, this is who they determined would be their recommendation, would be
Yes.
CTI.
Was that a unanimous vote by PSAC?
It was not. It was a 5-2 vote.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the the design for the Kahite lift station for $175,000 awarded to CTI.
Is there a second?
Second?
On the question?
Yeah. So let me give you the reasons why I'd like to look at C2RL. We've, number one, and the most important, is the partnership they have with TAS, and TAS is the one that recommended them. I know they work with the other firms, but Mark Clinton was very specific about working with TAS and very forthright with how much time he does spend with Richard Yarborough and the team doing different, partnering with them on different things. C2RL also has the Tyson McGee Airport and Smith & Wesson, the new plant in Maryville. So they've got some decent, they must have some good relationships with these subs, as you refer to them as. We tried the big firm, right? I look at Jacobs Bills, and they've got more engineer 1, engineer 2, engineer 3, consultant 1. They've got all these people. They can put their names on it. We've already done the big firm thing. I'd like to have that more intimate relationship. I'd like to try a smaller, focused company that will treat us more like their top customer versus, yeah, you're just another client on my list, and let me sub this out to my huge office full of engineers, right? Because that's what we got from Jacobs, and I'm afraid we might get that from CTI as well.
CTI is only a 100-person firm, and they've got 60 in Chattanooga.
Right.
That's hardly large.
And Kahite's a newer one, and don't get me wrong, it needs love, and we need to give it love right away. But I would like to try this company because it is TAS, it is who TAS is recommending. I think it's the right fit. I think it's a time for us to make a change and give a new chance. Okay, that's my 2 cents.
All right. I think you're wrong. I think the most qualified firm is CTI. I appreciate your input there. Obviously, as the board member, that's your decision, not mine. I'm just giving you my recommendation and the recommendation from PSAC.
On the question?
So we have some pretty qualified people, I shouldn't even say pretty, we have some very qualified people who serve on our Public Services Advisory Committee. And this board appointed and approved those committee members. And so it's always a little concerning to me when we ignore their advice. I'm not, only because we don't have a lot of engineers on this board, and we have a lot of engineers on the PSAC committee. So it would concern me to, for concerns of maybe the size of the engineering firm, which PSAC knows. I mean, they did the research. They had all of the information available to them to make this recommendation to us. So I think that we should honor their service and the number of hours that they spent doing all of this research and doing all of the review to make this recommendation to us.
I'm probably get in trouble here. Is this the same committee that wanted to put the large tank down here? I'm just curious. I don't know if there's not.
Many of those people are no longer here. So, based on that, a couple of the people have 30, 40 years experience in this area on that committee. Is that true?
Chris Costello has 40 years experience, and
Yeah.
this is all he did his entire career, and worked with some of the people. His first mentor was the person that wrote the book on how to design municipal wastewater systems.
So, yeah.
On the question? Hearing none. All in favor of $175,000 task order for the Kahite lift station to CTI Engineering? All opposed? I show it 4-2-1, excuse me. the measure fails.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
So on that vote, I just have a question. What is the next step? I mean, because this has been, if we go back to 6 months ago, or even longer, the request was to PSAC, or to Matt, as a matter of fact, to go out and find us new engineering firms. Matt did that. He went out and looked at new engineering firms. If everybody goes to LUB and you go to TAS and you look at those two companies, those two utility firms, yes, do they have partnerships with other engineering firms? Absolutely. If you go to LUB has specific engineering firms that they use for specific types of jobs. They don't give all those jobs just to anybody. But also, as Matt has done the research and brought back to us, a lot of those engineering firms, whether it's from TAS or LUB, they don't come here because they have enough jobs, they have enough work, they have everything that they need with the relationships that they do have currently with those other utility companies. So now we're taking a step back. You're taking a firm that you've engaged discussions with, and what's going to happen as we prolong this to go out to another firm to ask for their input, if they come back and this other firm doesn't have the services and or the price that you expect, Joel, what's going to happen when we turn around to CTI and say, okay, now we're ready? More than likely, they're not going to be there. They're going to move on. Where is that in your risk assessment? Because that was one thing that nobody talked about during this whole discussion. There's a risk that if you continue to do this, when you go back to find those engineering firms or those partners that you really need, they're not going to be there anymore. Where is that in that risk assessment? Where is that in this decision? And finally, what is the next step? Because this, to me, and this is my personal opinion, just my opinion, we continue to kick this can down the road. That is also part of a risk that it doesn't sound like we're also assessing as part of this decision-making process.
That's a fair challenge. First of all, the Kahite pump station was 5 years down the road, according to the original TAP plan. The overflows, I guess, affected it somewhat, but the analysis, and I'm looking at the drawings for the Kahite pump station right now, show a pumping capacity of 263 gallons a minute. The upgrade of the pumps, which is what I'd originally asked them to do, was not a $175,000 engineering job. We looked at it at length. I spent time with TAS. I spent time with C2RL, and they agreed with us that the main line is 500 GPM capacity. They can handle the capacity. We just got a contract for them that says they'll handle the capacity, and all we're going to do is upgrade the pumps and get it going.
So, okay, Mike, I hear you. In regards to Kahite, we originally, or at least you guys said that the Kahite pump station was going to be the model, I don't know if that's the term that you use, but we're doing Kahite first before we do any of the other neighborhood pump stations. Will you at least consider changing that to looking at the Tokwa pump station?
Sure.
Because the Tokwa pump station.
I can't, just point of order though, I can't do anything with Tokwa until the main pump station is online.
Okay.
Because it ships to the main pump station, and I don't want to overwhelm it and create an issue there. Part of the problem with the Tokwa station also is that the pumps were upgraded at Mialakwa to equal the volume of the pumps at Tokwa. So when Mialakwa comes on, it fills Tokwa up, and the individual stations around there, the step tanks for all of the backyards, are going in there at the same time. So years ago, and it's in Bud Murray's report, and in the Jacobs report, someone upgraded those impellers without doing an engineering study.
Yeah.
So, but I can't upgrade Tokwa until the main pump. There's nothing that says Kahite and Tokwa can't run concurrently. We can run those because they're different counties.
Correct.
And there's nothing that says we can't run them concurrently. But there's also one thing that will hold TOQA up, and I want to get the darn thing done too, because I drive past it just like everybody else does, and you live closer to me, closer to it.
I put it in another report last night.
So, yes, I want to get TOQA on the books, and there's nothing that says we can't do that. But I have got to get the main pump station up and running before I engage at TOQA, and I need to get the I&I done to be compliant with the consent decree that I signed.
So going back to those two things, the main pump station is due to be done around September of this year?
So we're waiting on equipment. We're meeting with the equipment delivery guys and trying to see what their dates are. I wasn't party to that. I don't know. I got to get with Degula, our purchasing agent, and get those ironed out. There's also been some changes, significant changes to the engineering and design that we're paying Jacobs almost $500,000 for. So I've got to get caught up on that a little bit more. I'm meeting with the grantee next week. We haven't submitted an invoice in over a year. $2 million is dangling out there that we haven't done anything with. So I'm meeting with the grantor, we're the grantee, we're meeting with the grantor to see what we have to do to button that down and how we get the invoices to them so that we can get paid. There's a lot of balls in the air right now that we were not watching until just recently, and we started asking questions. And I tasked Mr. Brown on several of them, and this is part of it.
Well, anything that we can do to, at least even from a PSAC standpoint, start to initiate those discussions in regards to doing something on TOQA.
That's fair.
And not wait for Kahite, because this could be, who knows? I mean, how long did the process take for us to get, for PSAC, to actually get to this point, from starting the discussion on the Kahite lift station to bringing it to bid, or bringing it to this proposal?
We spent $3 million with Jacobs and never put a shovel in the ground.
I understand, but the question was,
Before we spend another $3 million, I want to make sure we get an ROI.
And I don't disagree. My only point is, we've been talking about the Kahite lift station for 9 months, a year. My fear is we're going to do the same thing with TOQA, and at the end of the day, half of this board will be gone.
I hope so.
I hope not, because that means that there's going to be 3 to 5 years before we get anything done, and that's
Okay.
really sad.
Let me rephrase that. I hope 1/7 of this board has retired. How's that?
Mr. President, a point of clarification. If I'm understanding you properly, I think I am. Ms. Garza's question is in a sense not related to what we just did, because what has to happen before TOQA is the main pump station. TOQA is not dependent on Kahite. Do I have that right? So I wouldn't myself see why attention can't be paid
We're going
to
to get back on the
TOQA in
question.
light of the main pump station.
He's got to get up here ask for some more money before the end of this. So let's let Matt ask for his money, and we'll circle back to this. Okay, go ahead.
One thing to this subject was, since this board rejected a motion for CTI, is this board ready to make a motion for C2RL for the $175,000? And I would say, why not then?
We don't have a value engineering package.
So we have a company that has a package ready to be evaluated, and one that doesn't. And so we're preferring to one that doesn't have a package.
I'm not going to write somebody a blank check again, Ed.
So it just seems that if the board is making the decision to go with a specific one, they should have been ready to go with another one.
David, let's hold that thought. Let's let Matt get up and ask for money so that we can get this buttoned down.
My apologies, folks. I had vehicles on the brain, and I got 2 operational contracts to ask you about, and I'll go through them pretty quickly. Backflow is a state requirement. If you're not familiar with what the backflow does, it keeps old stale irrigation water from finding its way back into the potable water system. So if you irrigate, you have to have one. We have engaged Piney Ditching for I think the past 4 or 5 years. They agreed to hold their price exactly the same as the previous year. We might have wanted to go out 2 or 3 years, but if we can get a hold price, we'll take that for a year. We did also solicit quotes from Ground Control, Rainscapes, and Backflow Doctor. As you can see, Piney Ditching is unquestionably the better value there. Just want to make a quick point about this. Part of the reason it lapsed my brain is it's a pass-through contract. So if you have a backflow prevention device and you irrigate, you can choose to use your own irrigation installer, whoever you call, that's fine. We don't have an issue with that. They'll fill out a form and they'll provide it to us. If you don't, then we're going to use Piney Ditching to do it. So if you're a residential, our cost is $26.25. That's exactly what the resident's going to be billed for. In any given year, about 22% of the residents will use a different provider. So we're kind of making an assessment every year if it holds the same. And the 24 commercial units, we would be at about $60,000, just short of $500 for this operational contract. And I have a motion for you.
Matt, real quick, just clarity. We are not absorbing this cost. We are passing it through to the people who have installed backflow preventers.
Correct.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the 64,000 or 60,000?
Mr. President, I'll move to approve the 2026 backflow testing contract to be completed by Piney Ditching at a not to exceed $60,495.75.
Is there a second
I'll second it.
on the question?
Yeah, so Matt, I missed it, but this is a state requirement, I believe?
It absolutely is.
So we
yes.
have to do this.
Got to
Yep,
do it.
Yep.
Hearing no others, call for the vote. All in favor? Show 7-0 on the vote. There's 60,000.
There's, so the task contract for water services, so back in February, Mark Clinton, the superintendent from TASC, provided written notice of his intention to terminate the existing wastewater agreement. That original agreement was dated November 13th, 1996, and was originally between Monroe County and the Tellico Village Property Owners Association. So earlier this year, we were provided with a revised draft, and I'll talk you through the significant modifications, although it's really not that big of a deal. The original agreement references in treatment had no limit in the amount of wastewater that we could send TASC. The revised agreement references a limit of 5 million gallons per month. So over the last 24 months, the most wastewater we have discharged to TASC is just over 2 million and averages just over 1.6 million. So you think about it in that respect, the difference between 5 million and unlimited, it's really not a significant change. The only way Kahite is going to discharge that much wastewater through there is a set of circumstances I can't even make up a hypothetical. Kahite's just going to somehow get a whole lot bigger, and I can't even tell you how that would happen. The original agreement in Section 5 fees included a connection fee of $350 for each single-family equivalent. The proposed agreement increases it to $750 per connection. By comparison, the connection fee paid to LUB is $300. That adopted permit fee for me really is not that big of an issue. So you're talking about every time ACC approves a home in Kahite, it would be $400 more. And just as a general rule, about 15% of the homes that are under construction at any time within Tellico Village, about 15% of them are in Kahite. So you look at 123 homes roughly that are to be constructed. That was in the whole year. Here we are sitting in April, so it's closer to 80. 15% of 80 comes to about $5,000 over the course of the year. You adopted your rates with the budget of $20,000. That's for the entire utility connection fee. A difference of $400 on 15% of 80 is not going to make that big of a difference. I think it's something in the neighborhood of $5,000 is really what you're going to come up short, and I don't believe that will materially change your ability to finance the utility tank installation division of Public Works. As it relates to the per 1,000 gallon charge for wastewater discharge, there really is not a change. TAS will continue to adopt their rates at whatever schedule they have. I generally think it's probably once a year around their budget cycle. I don't know when that is. But the contract does state very specifically that as they adjust rates for wholesale customers, they will adjust them for all wholesale customers. There isn't a circumstance where they could specifically point to Tellico Village and say, you go up, but others get to stay, or if everyone else is going up, we're going up too, which is also not a change from the existing contract. This agreement has been reviewed by Kevin Stevens and is recommended for your approval. Board Member Lackey brought up the issue. It's 5 years with 5 years renewables, and I've got a recommended motion for you.
Matt, real quick, I looked at inflation real quick, and if they just adjusted the connection rate for inflation, we'd be at $720.
Yeah.
That's just, I went to a 96 calculator to 2026, and it would have been at $718 change. So really, when you're talking about this, I don't see it as being out of line.
It's not that big a deal.
And that connection fee is for them to help maintain their system as we grow.
Correct.
So it's an investment into this overall system for the county. So
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to recommend for PSAC and FAC recommend approval of the agreement for wholesale wastewater service from Tellico Area Service System, or TAS.
I'll second it.
On the question? Seeing none, all in favor?
Big thanks to Mike Lackey for reminding me I had these 2 operational contracts to do, and I forgot about them. Sorry about that.
We have a couple of questions from our folks that are watching online, not about that. It actually kind of went back to, one of them's for Joel, about the balanced scorecard. And this was Karen Egan from Mialacqua neighborhood. She says, I thought the reserve study counted all of our widgets and determined the end of life for all of our equipment. Was the newest reserve study defective?
What is the question?
So did you use the reserve study asset list, the new one, with its end of life? When you looked at preventive maintenance,
Yes.
you use that list as one of your foundational documents to start determining what assets to be placed in your preventive maintenance program. Is that correct?
Correct.
And they had end of life in there, so they were indicating that, so obviously that data is being transposed over into the documents they're using for building their new preventive maintenance program?
End of life of a particular asset was not taken into consideration in the PM program. But we did take the first reserve study and the second reserve study to start preparing and putting our asset list together for turf and public works. And then we went in and reevaluated, and we found errors in the last reserve study, clearly found errors with the first reserve study.
And then Carol Solomon has a question, how many people responded in the beta test?
For the property owner
Well,
or
that's a
for
fair
the
question,
customer?
Beth tried to answer the question, she said for the all-in survey, and there was no response, so I'm not sure which beta test.
I believe it was about 165, which drove, I count as actually 167, drove those 4 graphs that I showed Those are based on 167 responses.
Hearing no more, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I guess, well, no, we had an open forum at the start, and we had a town hall. We're trying to conduct business. It's nothing personal. Is this going to take long?
No, it'll be quick.
Okay. We're trying to get this to be a business meeting, and the town hall would be a great format for that, but I will entertain you. I will indulge you at this moment.
Being here. Mike Robbins, Milagro. I flew in last night from Lake Las Vegas. I've been running around all day. I would have gotten in here earlier. Members of the board, Trey's doing a great job over at the Wellness Center. The employees are good. They're keeping up with the equipment. There's also some new equipment that they're bringing in. It's good for people, the age group of our community. In the last 26 days, it's a little hard to do out there with the food, but I just took off 15 pounds in 26 days. The other thing is the Blue Book is being revised with some things. One of the important things, and I've heard this from residents here for the last 3 years, is light pollution, irritation with lights at night with neighbors. Let me give you a quick example. The two different Del Webbs we've been in, everyone has their lights on, every single house. But they're soft lights. You can walk up and down the sidewalks, the neighborhood, they're soft. Some of our people are putting these bright lights on at their front door, lighting up an entire cul-de-sac. It's all over the place, and it shouldn't be happening, okay? So I'm glad the Blue Book's addressing that. Mike, you and I have talked about this before. Code enforcement does a great job. They got a great team. They've already been addressing what's there, but it's good that it's being enhanced a little bit. Carol, the 2 months I was out there, I'm working on a real estate project out there. I went into YouTube a little bit. Mike, you're well-versed. Ed, you've always had a great backing in both communities. If I bring up your name, always hear positive things. Carol, you are a great addition to this board. Every time you bring something up or make a comment, I even called my wife in to the living room when I was watching you out there. I said, look at this new board member. You're very positive to have on the board. You're a great addition, and everything that comes out of your mouth is practical, it's reasonable, and it makes a lot of sense. And also the whole board seems to be a little bit smoother than in the past. Thank you for listening. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Michael. Motion to adjourn has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
I second.
Hearing none on the question, all in favor? I'm trying to let staff go. Show that as 7-0.